Well, hello there.
Hello there, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're all doing well. Adam has been working his fingers to the bone, shipping
Yes.
out packages.
Yes. Yeah. Handling a lot of packages, as they're already
Yes.
talking about in the chat. God,
Adam
you
is
guys have such dirty, dirty, dirty minds.
Adam is quite the expert at handling packages. Okay, so I'm sure he'll do it with skill,
Postal.
accuracy, and speed.
Postal packages. So, anyway, let's move
Sure.
on, you gay
Okay.
wads.
So today we're
Is
going to
that
talk about a
still
couple
is that still in vogue? Gay wads? Is
gay
that
ones.
is
I
that
haven't heard that one in a
homophobic?
long time.
Is that
Yeah.
are you allowed to say that? I don't know.
Yes, that's a
Anyway,
little
please don't
boomerisk, but we'll
please don't
forgive you.
cancel me, you homophobes.
Okay.
Anyway, we're
So,
talking about Hasan, right? Speaking of
today we're going to talk about a couple
gayness.
things. We're talking about Hasan first now. So this is a heartwarming story. This brings a lot of joy to my heart.
Mhm.
It looks like Hasan has finally fallen off, or is falling
Mhm.
off outside of his bubble, and I think
Yes.
this is a lot to do with Ethan. I think
Ethan,
Ethan's
yes.
content
Ooh.
nuke successfully hit its mark. I think people outside of Hassan's or outside of the BreadTube bubble are finally starting to realize what a trash person Hassan is. They don't want to have anything to do with him. And so recently, the Gygax, who's a very big anime YouTuber who has a podcast called Trash Taste, where they just talk about anime. They don't generally talk about political things or anything of that nature. They had Hasan on the podcast. And the reason for this is Hasan recently went to Japan. And Hasan had been in the podcast a year ago. And a year ago, that podcast got like 2.4 million views. It got mostly likes. It wasn't very contentious. This was before, I guess it was more than a year ago, because I think it was before October 7th and all that stuff, which is like obviously a major shifting point for Hasan. But it had been mostly received positively. But now they've uploaded this a few days ago. Hasan's on, and oh my God, look at this. They only have 470,000 views with 53,000 dislikes.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
crazy. Look at that. Off the
53
charts.
thousand dislikes for 470,000 views and only 20,000 likes. So that's a 72% dislike ratio. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
so much of it is like he didn't stand by his friend. Like everyone can relate to that, right? And when Ethan dropped his content nuke, so much of the narrative was Hasan turned on a friend. Like, regardless
yes,
of your understanding of the political situation, right? Anyone can understand. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What? A friend stabbed you in the back?
hmm
Yeah. But
I think that the turning a friend definitely hit a lot of people, but the way in which it manifests in the comment section
mhm.
is mostly attacking Hasan as being a terrorist sympathizer.
Wow. Okay. So even those claims are taking hold.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me read you some of the comments. 4.4 thousand likes. The name Trash Taste has never been more applicable. 4.6 thousand likes. Hasan not realizing he's a lolcow outside of his echo chamber is hilarious.
Whoa. Oh my God. That's amazing.
Oh, that's the guy who met Luffy. Ideal guest. Said another comment. Well, they definitely have Trash Taste and Guest. 2.9 thousand likes. Was the Unabomber not available? 3.3 thousand likes.
Whoa. Holy cow. They're out for blood, Sitch.
They're out. They are out for blood. Nuxanor is too controversial for a podcast. Invites Hasan Piker. Bruh. 3.9 thousand likes. And Nuxanor is an actual anime YouTuber, so it's even sillier. Quote, hey, let's invite one of the worst persons on the internet. Great idea. 3.1 thousand likes.
Wow. Wow. So
Someone's for
he's
yeah.
not gonna be invited back on this podcast
Oh
anytime
no.
soon. Yeah.
No. And hopefully his name or his, everywhere he shows up outside of like socials content, he gets dragged so much that, he does not get normalized, that he's just not really, no one wants to invite him on any of their shows outside of political stuff. Hopefully.
Right. Yes, that's great.
Is this another good one for 900 likes? I hear Kim Jong Un likes anime. See if you can get him in next.
Oh my goodness. That's so cool. That is so cool.
Here's
Wow.
another good one. 1.6 thousand likes. I heard Bin Laden likes anime too. Get him on next.
Wow. Remember they were praising Bin Laden on TikTok
Yes,
not
you're
that long
right.
ago.
You're
Yeah.
right. You're right.
Now they realized, actually he's a dick.
1.6 thousand likes. I can't wait for the podcast with Diddy next week.
Wow.
11,000 likes. Oh my God. I saw Hasan, and so I thought they were going to watch terrorist propaganda music videos together.
Wow. So everyone is watching Ethan's content, Nuke.
Yes. It's
Yes.
just
He's
devastating.
dramatically shifted the narrative on Hasan. And all Hasan did was say, "Oh, I just ignore it. This is not a big deal. Put my head in the sand and this will go away." Has that strategy worked, Sitch? Has that been a good strategy here?
It has not, in fact, worked. No.
Yes. Yeah.
No, it has not worked. And actually, after I show a clip from the podcast, there is a clip of Hasan complaining about this to his audience and telling them to like get in there and upvote the
Oh my
upvote the
God.
stream, push back. Actually, I'll send it to you. And it's like obviously not working. Okay, so even with Hasan telling his own audience to brigade the comment section, to upvote the video and all this stuff, still not even making a dent. I'm scrolling through the comments here. I don't see a single positive comment in all of this. I just have it set to like top comments. I don't see a single positive comment.
Now it's becoming obvious how many people just hate watch Hasan. Half of his audience is just hate watchers. They're there for the car accident that is Hasan.
Yeah, I mean, you might be right. You might be right.
They're not there because they love him.
And this they do. Trash Tastes have 1.6 million subscribers. They have lost 10,000 so far.
Really? They're losing subs because they
lost
brought this
10,000
guy on?
subs. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So what did people expect them to push back on Hasan? Maybe. I guess that's the problem.
Well, they're not really supposed to talk about politics, really.
Right. Yes.
They do. And here, you have the watch together up because it does.
I do, yeah.
Politics does come up a little bit. So here, let me show you. It comes up in two parts here, right in the beginning. Okay.
They do. Hello and welcome to another episode of Trash Taste. I'm joined once again by the boys, and we have a returning guest because you're back in Japan now.
Hell yeah, I'm here permanently now. I've decided. This time it's for real.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, now that my country's on fire, I chose Japan to just stay here.
All right.
Whoa. But yeah, we got Hasan. He's back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no politics. Sorry.
Yeah.
No politics. All right. I don't want to hear
actually, last time you were on, it was probably like the most anime-centric podcast we'd had in like the history of Trash Taste.
It was also the most like heated podcast of the
yeah, right.
I have never got as much shit in my life as when from the episode you were on when I said One Piece is political. I got made fun of so much.
No. It was the opposite. You were like, One Piece isn't political.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's gum man having fun.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. So over a year ago, they have Hasan on. This guy says One Piece isn't political, and he gets made fun of by their audience. Now they have Hasan on, and the audience is just slamming Hasan.
Right.
And slamming them for having on. So a complete shift, a complete role reversal here in terms of the audience's take on all this.
Yeah, it's great. Look, and looks like they asked not to talk about politics. I don't know if they did, or obviously Hasan wants to talk about politics, so they probably said, "Let's not talk about politics."
Oh, yeah, they said not to talk about politics. It kind of gets brought up right in the beginning, obviously, and
first thing he fucking says.
I know,
out of his
first
mouth,
thing he says,
right? My country is on fire. Oh, your country, right?
Yes.
Turkey.
Terrible.
What happened?
Right, what happened to Turkey? Okay, so yes, don't talk about politics. Okay, watch. They're gonna talk about politics again. He's gonna bring it up again. Okay.
Fell on him. And I was like, Chris, when are we leaving? It's 9:30 p.m. We need to get another hotel room. We should just come on.
God damn.
And eventually he'd leave.
Yeah.
I got some other cool stuff that
Okay.
I got lined up as well.
So he's bringing this up. He's unprompted. Okay, just
It's coming to me now.
Okay.
One, I got access to the Japanese Communist Party, and
Look how look how they just cringe away. They completely cringe away.
that's they know the face of cringing away. They're like, oh my God, this asshole.
Can
We
you
told you not
imagine
to bring up politics. What are you doing?
Can you imagine anime under the Communist Party? The one party
Oh my
rule.
God. Jesus Christ.
It's like all
Terrible.
anime worships the state.
Yes.
basically. Never makes any money.
No.
And I'm going to go and live stream their headquarters.
Which is a crazy thing to say because that shit is so secretive in Japan.
yes.
How the fuck? It's good.
That's it, baby.
If you,
Chef never reveals his
I'm
secrets.
that guy.
it might be the last live stream.
I'm that guy. No, we really loved the Bernie Sanders interview that I did. So they were like, "Oh yeah, okay, we'll do it." Like, because they thought it was super sick. Because
Jeez.
it was right around the time where I had interviewed Bernie, like a couple days prior to it, and they were super on board with it after that. But they are somewhat secretive.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Yeah, they're somewhat secretive, and it's really cool. I'm very excited to go
good luck.
see what they're about.
Yeah.
Good luck.
There's some other interviews.
Know who else is secretive? Pedophiles. Like, what's the big? Why is he saying it's a big deal that they're secret?
Because I mean, I don't know exactly, but I'm guessing like in Japan, there's a lot more restrictions on speech and things. So it's
Right.
possible that their government is very like anti. I mean, Japan is a lot more conservative culturally than America is. Obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously. In some respects, they are. In some respects, they're not.
Yeah,
But
they're pretty liberal with the panty shots. In their
they're pretty liberal
anime,
with the
so-
sex stuff. Yeah, but no. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of like pressure against people being communist or
Right.
being in communist parties or things of that nature in Japan.
So all three of these guys live in Japan and have lived there for quite some time. And
Yes.
Hasan is just showing up fresh off the boat, as they say, right?
Right.
So he doesn't really know what. I mean, they immediately cringed away from him even bringing this up. So,
Mm-hmm.
oh, interesting. I don't know the social dynamic. I'm reading the body language here.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. It says the Japanese Communist Party was founded 99 years ago. It was illegal, but then once Japan was defeated in World War II, it was legalized in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Interesting.
but keep
Well,
playing.
Was it the Communist Party was involved in World War II?
I don't know
teaming
if it
up
was
with
involved in
Germany?
World War II, but afterwards, it was
Interesting.
legal. So.
Interviews that I have lined up as well. There's a guy who did a documentary on Shinzo Abe's shooter, assassin.
Okay.
Is this going to be your last trip in
You're going for the
Japan?
greatest hits.
So,
Oh my god.
They're basically telling him, "Look, they're going to stop you at the airport."
Yes.
Like, what the
yes.
What the
They're
fuck
like-
are you doing? They're like, dumb fucking American.
They're like, you're gonna, have your meeting with the secret Japanese communists. You're gonna talk to, you're gonna interview some guys doing a documentary on the guy who killed Shinzo Abe. Like, obviously,
Yeah, does he even know these people? Like, how does he know they're not setting him up?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, he's like a giant celebrity. They could easily set him up.
Mm-hmm.
I might not be wrong about this. This guy is I don't even know if I should say this. Well, I mean, he's a filmmaker as well, but
Yeah.
he is a former Japanese Red Army member.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was.
So the Japanese Red Army was a militant communist organization from 1971 to 2001, and it was designated a terrorist organization by Japan and the United States.
Is it currently designated? Still designated
I don't.
terrorist?
It's not supposedly. Doesn't supposedly exist anymore.
Oh, okay. So it's
Okay.
it doesn't exist. So
Yeah.
it's no longer designated
So
a terrorist
he's-
organization.
He's interviewing a guy who was part of a terrorist organization who was in jail at some point
Right.
for being part of a terrorist organization.
Right. God, he's
Okay.
really getting away from that narrative that he's a terrorist simp, isn't he?
Yes. This is on the anime podcast. We're supposed to be talking about fun anime things and not politics.
Well, and these guys have sent like 5 Qs now that maybe we should move on to something else.
Right. And it keeps bringing it up. Yeah.
He was in prison. He was in prison for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Right.
For his.
I'm not even surprised.
You
at
just
this
meeting
point.
up with what are you going to meet up next with? The resurrected corpse of Hirohito? Like,
No,
what is,
but like I mean that's different. Like these guys are like the people that went and like actually fought alongside in Lebanon, like fought against Israel in Lebanon, with the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. So I'm like
Holy shit. Holy shit.
Oh my God.
He's like, these are the guys who went and killed all those Jews in Israel. Oh, okay. Wow.
Jesus Christ.
What anime is this from?
I'm really stoked to see like the fascinating side of Japanese politics that is just like so far left. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think the current sentiment is just don't, like, a lot of people are like, yeah, just don't rock the boat. Just don't.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just Japanese
Yeah, it's
culture in
Japanese.
general,
Yeah,
right?
that is,
Yeah, so I think it kind of extends to that, which is why you don't really hear a lot about the politics here. So
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not trying to rock the boat. I'm just
No, I know.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
You are 100% trying to rock the boat.
Yes.
That's like your brand, dude.
Yes.
Now the boat is going to rock you.
Mm-hmm.
Now you want to fall out of the boat. The boat is rocking.
To see you go through all of it. I don't have much interest to explore these.
You don't want to
things.
interview a former Japanese army?
No.
He's pissed that you're bringing it up, dude. Look at the
Yep.
look on his face. Oh my God.
I
This is great. Oh,
I
this is
know.
so great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody who watches this show can read all the body language in all of these guys. It's crazy that Hasan can't.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
You are exactly right. He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck. He likes to show up on your show and just piss all over your set.
Yeah, he's using this as like another platform to spread the
Indoctrinate
message
people.
of
Yeah, exactly.
radicalization.
Yes.
Socialism.
Yeah, exactly. He's hoping he can pick up some future Unabombers here.
Yeah.
God, I'm so glad people are getting wise to this.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants this shit.
No.
Oh God, it's so great. If this was happening on the right, if you had somebody showing up on a podcast trying to indoctrinate people into white supremacy or white or anything like that, right?
Right. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, ethno-nationalism. Like if the alt-right pipeline was being forged on these anime shows, look, everyone would be losing their minds over this shit.
There would
right?
be mainstream articles about how
Of course,
anime YouTubers who are talking to your children had Nick Fuentes on, or I don't know, whoever would be like the martyr maid guy that Tucker Carlson talked about, or some pro-fascist
Richard
guy.
Spencer was
Yeah,
one back
exactly.
in the day. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
Yes, they would all be losing their minds. But here he is, talking about, oh yeah, we need to get these young kids to strap on a suicide vest
Yeah.
and drive into Israel.
I'm gonna interview a guy who was part of a terrorist organization that at some point in the past was in Lebanon fighting Israelis.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'll leave that up to you.
I like.
Yeah.
I like
Also, our
entertainment.
visa depends on it as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Look at this. Look at this. Hey, dumbass. It's so weird. Why didn't
I
they just
know.
edit this shit out of the podcast?
They
Maybe it's
should've.
because it's live. They're probably doing it live, right?
I don't know, maybe.
You can't
But
edit
yeah.
it out once it's live. Otherwise,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, their visa, they're not allowed to even do this stuff that Hasan's gabbing on and on and on and on about.
yeah, because he's a dumbass. He's a
Yes.
freaking dumbass.
Yep.
Remember when we had that half-hour conversation about no politics before the show? Were you
I
listening?
thought you were just
Hasan?
joking. I thought you were just joking, Hasan. I thought, yeah, you just, just memes.
Well, this is great though. This is great. I'm glad this is like a happy accident here. I'm glad
Yeah.
this happened.
That
No,
is
it
like-
wouldn't look great for us.
Yeah.
My citizenship
Yeah.
depends on
That's something I'm a little worried about too. Like if they just say like, "Oh, you interviewed a terrorist, a former alleged terrorist," like that's
Backpedaling a century.
yeah, former alleged. I mean, he went to prison for
I,
it.
look,
You know? He
I,
did the time.
recognize that, someone has to talk to these people and hear these stories and spread them.
Yeah.
And more power to those people who do.
Yeah,
Not
I think
me.
I-
I'm good.
Yeah, it is.
Hasan is the only one saying alleged terrorist with this guy though. That just
I know.
completely gives it away. Completely gives it away.
It's just like
Imagine if he said alleged genocider about Adolf Hitler.
Right. Right. Or if there was some guy who was like some, did some kind of like racist hate crime or something. like
exactly.
alleged, criminal, alleged terrorist.
Yeah, exactly. Who's that guy? The guy that they always bring up that went into the black church and mowed everyone
Dylan
down.
Roof?
Yeah, Dylan Roof. Imagine that. Imagine that.
Yeah, I know.
Fucking disgusting.
Like, it's fascinating to me because of part of the reason why it's fascinating is because of what you just said, which is that, like, I want to know what makes Japanese politics tick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be very extreme back in the 70s, 50s.
Yeah.
You know, it was very,
These
very,
are the guys
yeah,
that
very, very extreme.
Yeah.
were very extreme.
Yeah.
God damn.
Well, yeah. I mean,
By extreme, they mean literal terrorists who went to jail, as he said. So,
Mhm.
you know, that's fun. Okay. So this happened. Massive backlash. Thank God. Finally, because of the good work of Ethan Klein, for all of his faults, I think his content nuke completely hit its mark, and people are turning on Hasan Piker.
Right. And Hasan is so dense, he can't even really fight back against it. So
No.
that's great. The
Hi
easy
again,
ride,
everyone.
the easy ride is officially over for Hasan.
No, yes, yes. Oh, bring up the tweet I sent you. It's funny. It's this clip of Hasan getting in arguments with his chat, and he's mad that he's getting all this pushback on the comment section. He's like telling people, he's like, go in there, save my reputation, my minions, save me.
All right, I'll bring it up here.
It's beautiful. Noel Screaming the Void for $2 says, guys, ja in Spanish for ha is ja equals ha ha, don't forget. Yes, I know that.
Haha. Ja ja.
Yeah.
All right, we got 50. What do we got? 50 something seconds. Ready to go?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Good.
ready to
I'm
go.
glad
It's
I'm
1
waiting.
minute. It's 1 minute and 5 seconds.
Oh, you're right. Ready?
Yeah. Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
Mr. President, the second Piker has hit the trash taste. Why would you do this, Hasan? Really? The terrorist endorser? Shame.
As his bubble gets smaller and smaller.
I
Mhm.
noticed lately you guys are not up to date with the internet, but this is a whole new level of out of touch. Having an openly racist person on, downvote. Do not have him again, please. Holy fuck. Too bad I get irritated from just seeing his face. The guy has said so many profoundly idiotic things that I honestly cannot listen to a word from him. The brigade is on, folks. Get in and actively counter the brigade.
Oh my God. That's so
They
desperate.
dislike botted the video immediately. Lol is at 2.5k dislikes.
Hasan has been reduced to
He
brigading
really upset
comment
the weaves
section.
this
I know.
time. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Mr. President, the second
Yep.
Piker
Yep.
has hit the track.
Do the Russian bots go in and brigade for Hasan now? The Russian bots that actually made him popular, are they actually
Obviously.
going to other channels and brigading for him now, or
Mm-hmm.
the jig is up?
The jig is up.
I can feel it. The fourth turning is happening.
It's happening, baby. Thank you so much, Thal, for the 20 gifted memberships and for joining outside the simulation. The highest.
Really? Holy
tier.
shit.
So thank you, Thal. Really
What's
appreciate
up,
that.
Thal?
Right.
Thal's a long time supporter.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ethan dropped a little mini addendum here yesterday, adding
Okay.
on. He's like, listen, I've already nuked Hasan into the ground, but there's still like some rubble left, so I want to just, drop a second.
God.
bomb. Okay. We
With
bombed
all-
Japan twice, so you gotta make sure you gotta double tap, right?
Yeah, when all the brigaders run in to pick up the pieces, that's when you hit them again. Boom.
Oh my God, it's literally they're using the terrorist tactics. Yeah, exactly. Awful.
I'm back with a little update for you guys regarding Hasan. First of all, I want to thank everyone for watching the content nuke and enjoying it. And I'm glad to see that a lot of people have really resonated with the message. One of those people, unfortunately, is not Hasan Piker, who has continued to spread Hamas propaganda and even elevated his brazenness. Take, for example, the tragic story of the Bibas family. The dad, 2 kids, and the mom were all taken hostage on October 7th after the grandparents were murdered in their home. The children, 8 months and 3 years old, was kidnapped with their mom, and the dad was kidnapped separately. Hamas murdered the children and their mom in captivity, and recently just returned their corpses to Israel. Let's take a look at how Hasan reacted to this tragic update.
Oh my God. I don't know if I can take this,
You
Sitch.
can't. Yeah. Oh yeah. You think Hassan's gonna have a good, somber, respectful reaction to this horrible tragedy?
Well, I mean, this is just fucking sickening. This story
Yes.
is so horrifying.
Yes, it is.
And evidently, I think they tried to pull a switcheroo on the body of the woman when they returned her. It wasn't even really her body, from what I understand.
Oh, really?
So
I didn't know that. Wow, that's crazy.
I'm like, what the fuck? Really?
Jesus.
I mean, this is like the saddest story of all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm prepared to get completely angry over this.
It says Israel says Shiri Babas is not among the bodies returned from Gaza.
Yeah, see?
Wow.
Fucking, that is so disgusting.
Right.
That is so fucking disgusting. Like, how do you do that? How do you try to turn in some rando and say, oh, here she is? You don't think they got fucking dental records, you morons? You don't
Well,
think they're
Hamas
going to
said
look
it
into
was
that?
an accident. They just had so many bodies, laying around that they just mix them up, right?
Bull fucking shit. Bull fucking shit.
Hamas fighters carry the coffins of 4 dead Israeli hostages, 2 of them children, the youngest to have been abducted on October the 7th. On stage, an offensive propaganda message blaming Prime
Offensive propaganda message. Offensive propaganda message. Offensive propaganda message.
Hasan has it in his heart somehow to laugh at the coffins of 2 slain children at the hands of a violent terrorist organization. According to the forensic experts, the children were strangled to death, murdered at the hands of Hamas, likely because they didn't know how to take care of 2 young kids in captivity for 2 years. So instead of taking care of them, they chose to murder them.
The war criminal Netanyahu and his Nazi army killed them with missiles from Zionist warplanes. What are we doing? There is no lie here. This is correct. The fuck?
Hasan wants us to believe that the only thing wrong with this is that they called him a Nazi, right? Obviously, it's the way that they're parading around this family of these murdered children, these innocent children. Can he really not see the tastelessness in this? The disrespect? Take a look at his chat. It's no better. The truth is offensive. Hamas has the best fits.
To the slain Israeli family, rip bozo. How do I get that poster? They snapped on that. That mural kicks ass. Dude, it was a family. Correction, settlers. Implying that children born in Israel deserve to be slaughtered. Quote, they're...
Just in case there's any
This is fucking disgusting.
isn't
man.
it? Yeah. This is the Hasan chat, right? Just in case there's any doubt in your mind that the second thought, tier disgusting genocidal rhetoric is, alive and well in Hasan's community.
I don't see how anyone with a family can't just be completely horrified by this. This could be your fucking family.
Yeah. Yeah. You think you
Yeah.
have some empathy to this, but
Their home? Lol. It is their home. They were born there. Whose home are they in again? Their home? Yes, it's their home. They were born there. The mom was an IDF spy. They were not civilians, and they used their kids as human shields. I really don't even know what to say about that one. I might call this person schizophrenic, but I'm afraid this is just what happens to your brain when you watch Hasan for too long. Hamas is fucking based, and I'm tired of people pretending they're not. Again, this is just a few examples from the 30 seconds preceding Hasan's statement. I'll let the chat run for you at the end of the video, and you can take your time to read through it to see just how vile it is.
You'll notice that there is overwhelming support for the propaganda for Hamas and zero respect shown for the dead children. Notice here, however, that one person says defended Hasan. Watch how quickly this gets moderated out of his chat.
Here, including Guardian, BBC, and other Western...
There it is. It's gone. Hasan claims he has no control over how his chat is moderated, apparently. Yet, 90% of it is people celebrating the death of these kids. And the one person that has even the slightest bit of pushback is immediately moderated. After laughing over the corpse...
3 seconds that is gone. And yet
This
all
is-
the people cheering on these people being murdered or just like no content moderation on that. That's fine. That's acceptable.
This is fucking sick. This is
Isn't it?
so fucking sick. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's vile. It's
Mhm.
completely vile. Like this is the kind of shit they do in fucking Gaza and in these Arab nations where they just make Jewish people out to be demons.
Yes.
And they're literally doing it here to American kids on the Twitch platform.
Send this video to Guyguck and the guys at Trash Taste and be like, listen, this is why so many people in your community and in the audience had such a negative reaction to you guys having Hasan on.
Well, it's weird. They're grooming this guy on CNN to be the Joe Rogan of the left. What fucking morons.
Yep.
Is this what the
pretty
left
crazy.
is? Who can defend this? Who on the left wants to defend this? Look, a lot of times right wingers will say, the left are categorically evil. Well, when you look at shit like this, it's hard to deny that.
Right.
It's hard to fight against that. Obviously, I don't think everyone on the left is categorically evil, but people on the left should be calling this out. They should be calling out their own.
Yeah, totally. And that's what's crazy. It's like, as I said, that fat hobbit from CNN, it's like, is he just some retard boomer who doesn't understand that he's propping up this guy? Does he know? Does he have a bunch of terrorist commie sympathizers, young sympathizers working for him as producers that are pushing this shit? Like, you do deserve to know and answer these questions.
This is like a categorical difference. I do see people on the right calling out the ethno-nationalist stuff. I do see it. I never see it on the left. I never see it. Look, Ethan Klein is doing it here, but this
Right.
is a novel thing. This needs to be the norm. This needs to be what happens all the time.
Right. Yeah, it does. It does.
Corpses of slain children. Hasan continues to guzzle Hamas propaganda, and this reaction that I can only describe as nauseating. Take a look.
Now let's take a look at how the hostages were released. I wonder if Western media will actually show the release videos, because there was some interesting sites that were disconcerting for the Israeli state and their project overall. But let's see.
Omer was among 6 released by Hamas in Gaza this morning. The 6 are the last living hostages to be returned in this ceasefire's first phase. The 22-year-old was paraded on stage. He'd been kidnapped from a music festival, and yet remarkably, he kissed 2 of the men who had been...
I hope he said no homo after, bro. Straight up. Hey, Hasan, please give us your take. I mean, it's the same as the dudes who fucking dapped up the Hamas dudes. The dudes who dapped them up in the first ceasefire, do you not remember? And everybody freaked the fuck out about it. And they were like, oh, they must be drugged. Hamas is giving them drugs. And that's why they're dabbing them up. Hamas gave them the drugs that make you dab up Hamas. It turns out that there is a new, even scarier drug out there that Hamas has in their hands. It's called the drug that makes you kiss Hamas.
That drug is called a gun to your head.
How did, like, it's
so
the
simple.
most obvious fucking thing on the planet. The most obvious thing. You're a hostage. You've been held hostage for over a year. These people have been treating you like shit. You don't know if you're going to survive this. You don't know if your friends or family are going to survive this. Obviously, you're going to do whatever the fuck these people say when they're like, listen, we'll let you go, but you got to like walk on stage and shake people's hands and give people kisses on the cheek. You're going to be like, I'll do whatever the fuck you want. Just let me go. Obviously, it's the most obvious fucking thing on the planet. And Hasan has to be willfully ignorant, retarded, or just maliciously stupid or maliciously evil at this point to pretend like, oh no, they're actually just like really, they're just really happy. They're just really happy with their captors.
Yeah, unless they're the last hostage released. They still have people they've done time with over there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so obvious. It's so obvious. Make a good show of it. Otherwise, we're going to kill your cellmate for the last 2 years. Remember that guy?
Right. And I don't like, I don't think that Hasan has ever apologized or retracted or said he was wrong in any of these comments. These very obvious, factually wrong, psychotic comments about, people who leave Hamas's custody and are like, "Oh yes, thank you," and then when they get back, they're like, "Oh my god, it was like torture, it was horrible."
Yeah.
All these horrible things happened to me. Like he's never acknowledged that he's just a totally insane things for him to say.
The story totally changes.
Yeah.
I mean, the chat is kind of driving him. It's weird because if the mods are constantly filtering out any sort of counter argument, he's only hearing the most grueling stuff.
Right.
And
right.
catering to that.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's kind of like, I didn't think about it. If the mods are sort of also shaping Hasan's downward spiral of audience capture insanity, it's kind of like the same thing with, everyone was like saying like, "Oh, well, there's no way Putin's going to invade Ukraine because it's so obviously retarded." And then he invades Ukraine. People are like, "Why the fuck do you do that?" It's like, well, he's surrounded by a bunch of people that tell him what he wants to hear, tell him a bunch of wrong information. Maybe the exact same things with Hasan. He's just surrounded by all these fucking mods that are just psychopaths like Frogan.
Yeah. That one guy's screen name was Peaceful Protest Never Works. What do you think that's allusion
Yeah, what does
to
that
there?
mean?
Yeah.
Right.
What do you think that's talking about? That guy's a fucking terrorist.
Right. Now, obviously, Hasan, to be clear, I'm not taking any responsibility away from Hasan. Hasan is 100% a terrorist, advocating, sympathizing, disgusting piece of shit who is cultivating both an audience and a moderation team that's in favor of all this disgusting behavior.
He picks the mods. He bends over to whatever the chat says. I mean, turn your fucking chat off, dude.
Right.
Start thinking for yourself. Listen to Ethan's video and listen to it with an open mind.
He agrees with it. He agrees with all this terror shit. Like, that's the problem. It's not even just audience capture. I think he actually, honestly agrees with all this stuff.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
This is part of his identity.
Yeah.
He's like the edgy boy. Yeah, it's just it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's so weird. I don't know why it happens so consistently where you get these people who they usually grow up in either an upper middle class or rich environment. They themselves have never had financial problems, and yet they become these like terroristically enraged, so angry, like class warriors. It's so weird, and it happens pretty frequently. I don't know what's going on there with that. It's like these people who I think that they're just guilty because they've had a good life. They look around, they understand that other people have a bad life, and it makes them feel guilty inside. And so they kind of like create this weird reaction, like in order to overcome their guilt, they're like, well, I'm going to, become like this psychopathic communist, essentially, to give my life meaning.
Well, the other argument is that it's elite overproduction, and there's only so many spaces for the elite in society. And when things get bad, when we're producing 100 elites for every 50 elite positions to be filled, you've kind of got a bunch of people that come out as counter elites to kind of get their bag against the prevailing elites. And that could definitely be happening here. It's very easy for elites to maintain the status quo and be nice to one another when their space is secure. When their space is not secure, things often get ugly. So that's a counter argument to the Hasan has some, some feelings of shame for his place in life. He's like, no, I'm a fucking rich aristocrat. I deserve a place of honor. And there is no place of honor for me. So I have to suck up to these socialists so I can get my place of honor, to fight back against the elites that are kind of nudging me out. Yeah.
And it's painfully obvious of a concept. I feel nauseated even having to say it.
Here you can see the head propagandist giving the hostage instructions. The hostage looks to his side to make sure he understands. Then the propagandist leans in to explain the strategy to the two terrorists on his left. And right on cue, the hostage leans in to kiss not one.
Oh my God.
I know.
It's so easily unveiled.
I know.
But the two of them. It's clear to anyone with a functioning brain that this was not done out of affection for his captors.
Of course, we don't need to even look at the footage. Just ask the hostage what he thought. Here's the hostage who was kissing him on the head. In Hebrew, it says, "I had no choice. The dogs made me do it." Hasan thought this was such a great point. He even took to his Discord to share his thoughts. First, they had the drug that makes you dab Hamas. Now they have one that makes you kiss Hamas. I'm losing my mind. I don't know who else to share this info with. A good place to start would be a therapist. The next best place would maybe be the NSA. More excerpts from the hostages say that they were forced to drink seawater, that they were giving rotten food, and that they were held in cages. Or, as Hasan likes to call it, hospitality. What gracious hosts they are.
Bro, every time they're releasing hostages, the next wave they're gonna be like, actually, I'm good. Like, I'm staying.
Well, I'm happy that the content nuke was able to make its way around and really influence people's thoughts on the matter. I am disheartened to see that Hasan is still spreading, without any care in the world, disgusting, violent, anti-Semitic Hamas propaganda that dehumanizes Israelis and delegitimizes their suffering. As I said in the content nuke, we must always keep the plight of the Palestinians at the front of our mind. The point that I've made that is consistently lost on Hasan is that we have to care about everyone. You have to show empathy for both sides. You can't laugh over the coffins of slain Israeli children because they're Israeli. Peace has never felt further away when people like Hasan are turning people against each other, fomenting hate, disinformation, while supporting radical, reactionary, terrorist organizations. Peace happens when both sides see each other as human, recognize the humanity in each other. That's when we come together and find peace. Hasan.
Completely true.
Yeah, look, it's beautiful. When is Ethan going on Joe Rogan? I feel like
Right.
why isn't he being pitched as a Joe Rogan of the left here?
Yep.
That is the left's message right there. Give peace a chance.
Give
We have to
peace
have
a
empathy for everyone.
See the humanity in the other side.
Yeah.
Right. There was even an article that came out the other day. The head of Hamas's foreign relations said that he would not have supported the October 7th attack had he known the devastation it would have wreaked on Gaza.
Who
So
said
even
that?
The Hamas's foreign relations head.
Really?
Yes.
How did he not know that? You're the foreign
mean,
relations head. Holy
Right.
shit.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously they don't have a crystal ball, but like, I mean, to me, it's like the most obvious thing on the planet. What the fuck? What did you think the response was going to be? You have to be a retard to
Yeah.
not see this
Yes.
response coming.
Yeah.
So, but again, as I said, you don't know these people are living these weird fucking bubbles. You don't know.
It's
what's
going to be shock
going
and
on
awe. Yeah.
there. Yep.
Because they don't have any insight into the people on the other side who anyone could tell you, oh yeah, it's going to be shock and awe. It's going to be biblical. They're
Right.
going to make sure there's
Yeah.
not one structure left standing in Gaza.
Right.
That's
Right.
what's going to happen. Yeah.
Disgusting. Well, that was a fun story, right?
No, it was horrifying, but it's good
Yeah.
to know. It's good to know it's the tide's turning here because Hasan is so much flying under the radar with so many people in the mainstream media. Like they got their heads up their asses. They don't understand what's going on. So if more of the true narrative gets out there, something will obviously be done about it. And he'll at least lose some of his cachet with some of the people on the left who, think he's the left-wing Jesus.
It would be nice. It would be nice. So it's really good to see the pushback in the anime community at the very least.
Oh, yeah.
I sent you an article to bring up. Let me read some super chats as we move on to the next story. J-Mac, thanks so much. Our surrogate father, Daddy J-Mac, for the $50. Says, sad, I'm going to have to come back to this. Hasan streams are always a hoot. However, don't miss my Supervillains Anonymous comic review on Twitter. Oh, I haven't seen it yet. It's spoiler-free, concise, and full of me. All right, that's it. See you free thinkers later. Well, thank you so much.
I put a link to it on our community tab too. So if you just want to go to the
Nice.
community tab, you can click on it and check it out.
Nice.
It's super cool. He did a nice video. I agree with all of his criticisms, and he gave us tons of praise too, which is he really liked the jokes. He thought it was.
Thank you.
He thought the jokes hit. Which, I mean, everyone who's read it in front of me, I count the laughs, and there is a lot of laughs, so that's good. That's what
Great.
Sitch and I were hoping for.
That's what we're going for. Thal, I said that for the 20 memberships. And thanks so much, Xerxes, Mr. Sage, for the 20 memberships. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sketch for 31 months says Hasan's anime takes are almost as bad as his political takes. Where's the media literacy? I didn't even listen to the anime part of the stream, so, but I'm not surprised at all. Danny for 3 months says, if you want to have an interesting guest, Chibi Review is currently trying to sue people that dox him. He's an anime YouTuber that got targeted for jokes. Wow. I don't know anything about that story, but I'll check it out. Joey Hollywood Films for $10 says, got the comic yesterday. Forgot I ordered in 2023. LOL. The plastic sleeve was slashed, but the comic is mint. Can't wait to read it. Sitch, great job on the art. Too bad that Slacker Adam was no help. It's true.
Well, that's not true at all, but
it's true.
That's I don't know why the sleeve would be slashed, so that's a little alarming, but
right.
I'm glad the comic was in good shape. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Thanks so much, Thal, for the $100. Oh my God. Thank you,
Look
Thal.
at this.
Thal says, I figured out what Trump is up to with Ukraine. Trump wants EU to be responsible militarily for Ukraine, which matches his thoughts on endless wars. Mineral right is just a good deal. Putin, he has to give an optical win to get him to the table. Well, we're going to talk about that in a little bit because obviously there's been some movement on the mineral deal. So Noel Screaming to the Void for $2 says Japan won't play with Hasan after Johnny Somali. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. It's so unfortunate because Japan is such a cool place to visit, and there's so many like disgusting streamers who are just all flocking to Japan, and like some of them are acting very respectfully, very nice. You know, Papa Meat, I'm a big fan of. They were in Japan. They didn't do anything wrong, except that they got attacked by a ghost. And they got cursed by a Japanese man, which is a little weird. But they themselves didn't do anything wrong whatsoever. But there's so many of these like piece of shit streamers that go to Japan or Korea or these other countries, and they just totally cause havoc. I think these people, in order to protect relations with Japan so that they keep treating tourists very well, which they did at some point. I don't know, maybe they won't anymore. I think these people should be given the death penalty.
Good.
I think if you go to Japan and you fuck around, they should just execute you. Okay.
They should find out.
Listen, they should get oh my God, what's the name of that Japanese mascot that's like the big
Japanese mascot?
It's Cheeton, right? Cheeton?
Sounds perfect.
You know what I'm talking about? It's like the big mascot.
I do.
Dog. Yeah,
I know
Cheeton.
exactly what you're talking about.
It's like
I don't. I'm just making it up.
You've never seen there's like a million meme videos of Cheeton.
But look, that guy, isn't he? Didn't they incarcerate him? Did they give him like 20 years in the clank?
I don't know. There's a bunch of different people that did it.
Yeah, he was some streamer that was doing pranks, making himself a public nuisance to everyone, right?
Right.
And they arrested his ass and said, "Hey, we don't play like that around here.
Yeah, I sent
you go to jail."
I hope so. I sent you a picture.
Okay,
this is my idea. I think if you go to Japan and you like F around,
oh my God,
you're gonna get Cheeton and friends. They're gonna dress up in the mascot uniforms and they're gonna perform a public execution. Okay, they're gonna be like
very Squid Games.
Right. Because listen, I want Japan to remain like a nice, friendly, pristine place for not to live. I don't want to live there, but just to visit. Okay, just to visit.
Yeah. They think because you can get away with that shit in America, you can get away with it in Japan. I don't get that. You got to be stupid to think every culture is like American culture. No, it's not.
Right. I just don't want them to ruin it for me and Sam when we eventually go.
Right.
The Golden Pepper. That's very selfish. The Golden Pepper. Thanks so much for the 18 months for your seeker and the Blunty Fly. Thank you. Ostracy for $10. Says, has Hasan started crying about cancel culture yet? Can't a man sympathize with terrorists without fear of losing his mansion and Porsche? True. There you go. True. I bet he has.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Gene Amber Premium for 28 months says, come on, guys. Hasan can't be a Nazi. Nazis knew how to dress. How old is Hasan anyway? He's got to be close to, how do you do, fellow kids, years old. I think he's
33. I just looked it up.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
33. There you go.
Well,
yeah,
I
no,
was curious. I'm
he's
like,
an adult. Yeah.
shouldn't he be out of his edgy boy phase now?
Not as long as the money's good.
Right.
Ace for $5 says, "Is it sad that Joey, someone who stood up for the anime community associated with Jank's nephew?" It is sad. It is sad. Yes. Ace for $10 says, "Adam, I think the right has done a poorer job of dealing with their own extremists than the left. Trump still makes bad with Tucker Carlson, a guy who did a podcast trying to make Churchill the villain of World War II."
Yeah, but that's like 2 degrees of separation there. Talk to me when Trump is actually meeting with that guy, the Churchill guy.
Right. And even though, like, I do think that the Martyr May guy is, I mean, he's acknowledged that he's fascist or that he has fascistic ideology or tendencies himself. But, I do think that there is a difference between someone who's like pretending, even if it's a thin veneer, versus just like open terrorist supporter. It just hits a little differently. They're not good, by the way. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not justifying it, but I do think it hits a little differently. Ace for $5 says, "Trump's behavior is so dumb that it can only be explained that he is doing 6D level chess to make Ukraine get more support from the world." Well, we'll talk about that in a second. We're gonna investigate. We're gonna see. We're gonna get to the bottom of it. Don't worry. Fiery Patriot for 19 months says, "Woo, 19 months." Thank you so much for the support.
Yeah. Thank you. That's awesome.
Okay. So breaking news. This just came out a few minutes before the stream started. We've been going. It's so funny because
I know.
I did the
Look
whole,
at this.
I
The
did
mineral
timeline.
deal.
I know. I did the timeline on the mineral deal, and then it was like a whirlwind. It was like a whirlwind of every day. This is so stupid. Every day on Twitter or X, it would be like, "Oh my God, Ukraine has given in to Trump's demands. Ukraine caves. He caves. Zelensky caves. What a fucking cuck." Like all these like people, so weird, like cheering this on, like he caves. And then it's like a few hours later, it's like Ukraine has not agreed to the deal and said, "Fuck the deal." Right. And every day for like after we started streaming, it would be the same thing. First half of the day, Ukraine's caves the deal. Second half of the day, Ukraine's not agreeing to the deal. And it would just go back and forth every day. And I just threw up my hands. I'm like, okay, I don't know why people are just we're gonna just have to calm down. Everyone take a breath. We're gonna have to see what happens. So,
Why does everyone have to spin it that way? It's either a cave or a cuck or, someone got taken advantage of. Like, what the fuck? Don't we want a deal?
Because there's so many people. It's really gross. There's so many people in like the pundit like MAGA space that have, they've kind of melded themselves into the position that Zelensky is some sort of evil psychopath.
Yeah, they drank the Kool-Aid.
Right, they've drank in the Kool-Aid. Somehow Putin is like not a bad guy, or he's a less bad guy than Zelensky, and Zelensky is the big evil. And so Donald Trump is the massive alpha dog who makes everyone bend to his whims, right? So that's kind of the framing. So you're right, because it's completely counter to peace, right? And it's funny because a lot of people on the right would complain. They'd say, "Oh, every time Trump has some kind of deal or negotiation or whatever," and the left and the media start saying, "Oh, Trump is cucking the Putin, Trump is doing X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah." They're just undermining the peace process, right? They would say that.
Yeah.
And then
when it's so true.
When it's the reverse, no one cares because obviously everyone's a fucking massive hypocrite.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so every day on Twitter, there'd just be this back and forth of just, "Oh, they caved, they didn't cave, they didn't cave, they didn't cave." So now we have the newest thing, but this looks, I say this, who knows, maybe 4 hours from now, I'll be eating my words, but this looks to be more substantive. Finally more substantive information today. As of today, a few hours ago, Ukraine supposedly, according to the Financial Times, has agreed to the U.S. mineral deal after Washington drops toughest demands. Okay. Which I think is good. I'm in favor of a deal of some kind, right? Obviously, I don't think we should take Ukraine for everything it's worth, but I'm in favor of some kind of deal that can get Ukraine and Russia on the path to peace. That would be nice. And if we get some money out of it, hey, I don't have a problem with that. That's good, right? What's wrong with that?
This sets up exactly what I predicted. This gives Trump the political cover to sustain the status quo, which, I'll believe the peace deal when I see the peace deal. But this is like the first step towards establishing something that Trump can take to his base and say, "Look, we're getting something out of this." So we have to support Ukraine so that we can get our mineral deal.
So you think, to be clear, you think that because everyone right now, they're looking at this. A lot of people are looking at this and like, oh my God, the war is going to be over. But there's still a much more like getting Ukraine to agree
Oh, well,
to
I'll
some kind
believe
of
it when I
deal.
see it.
Right. Getting
What are you
Ukraine
talking about?
getting Ukraine to agree to a deal is not the hard part. That's actually the easy part. The hard part is getting Russia
To agree to a deal.
to some
Yeah.
kind of deal, right? And
They have
people
to
seem to be
pull out.
forgetting that. Right. So
Look, Putin loves to fucking slap people around, dude. He's loving
Yes.
this. He's in the catbird seat. He knows what's up. He knows he's in
Right.
control.
Right.
And it's so funny. Trump is talking about how much control he has. I think Trump is slowly coming to realize that he doesn't really have a lot of control in this.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean it would be, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out what's going forward, but so your prediction, or you think that basically Russia's not going to agree to anything. They're just going to sit back and the conflict will continue, and then Trump will use the mineral deal to basically justify the continuing to send money.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Exactly right. This gives him enough political cover to sustain the status quo. Look, he wants a peace deal.
Right.
I want a peace deal. I'm sure you want a peace deal. I'm sure Ukraine wants a peace deal, right? Wall Street wants a peace deal. Like the American supporters want a peace deal on both sides. The guy who matters is Putin.
Right.
What's the news on Putin, whether or not Putin wants a peace deal? I think Putin wants all of Ukraine and a couple of countries next door. So
yeah, so Trump said at the press conference yesterday with Macron, he said that Trump told him he wants peace. He believes Trump. I mean, no, he believes Trump said Putin told him that he wants peace. And
yeah, I'm sure he did.
He believes Putin, but he could be wrong.
So he's already hedging.
He did add a little hedge there. He's like, I believe him, but I could be wrong. But maybe Putin doesn't want peace. So he added a little bit of a hedge, which is interesting.
He knows.
So.
Look, he knows. He knows. Trump knows. Trump is a master at deal making because he enters deals where he has some superior leverage in the deal. Well, deals where you have leverage is easy, right? It's easy to fucking go all in when you know you're sitting on a royal flush, right? That's not hard. It's hard to go in all in when you know you're bluffing, right? You got fucking shit. You got two deuces and you're like trying to make something happen, right?
Well, we'll see, because
in this situation, Trump does Trump have a royal flush? No.
No,
he doesn't. Yes.
Right. Well, yeah, no, not. And this is why I said, and I was criticizing, Pete Hegseth's comments were so retarded last week. It's like, why are you giving up all these negotiation points to Russia? It's just insane.
Oh yeah, that's
totally, completely insane.
That just emboldened. I mean, that gave everything away to Russia. Like that had to embolden Putin. He's like, oh, these guys got nothing.
Right.
These guys got fucking nothing.
But we'll see. Listen, I'll hold out hope. We'll see what comes in this coming week.
Yeah. What do you think? You think I'm right, or you think you got another theory?
I honestly, I don't know, because both arguments I've heard, the two arguments I've heard both make sense to me, and I'm not knowledgeable enough about what's going on in Russia to have like a good take, which is the first argument is, Russia just, they're relying so heavily monetarily on manufacturing for the war. And so it doesn't even make sense for them money wise to stop the war. They want to just keep going and churning out. And that also, Trump has kind of put himself in this, he's kind of put himself in this position where he's at this massive disadvantage because his base wants him to end the war as soon as possible. They don't want to pay anymore. So why, it would make logical sense for Putin to just kind of lean back and let that pressure continue to build until they can get more and more concessions.
Yeah, isn't the manufacturing good for their economy?
Right.
Isn't the war posture good for their economy?
Right. So that's the argument one. That argument makes perfectly logical sense to me. Argument two, which also makes logical sense to me, is there's so many people fucking dying in Russia. Their birth rate's already in the shitter. They're actually doing worse militarily than people let on. They actually are not in a good position. The people are getting sick and tired of the war. And so it actually would be a boon to Putin that if he could end the war and try to spin it, whatever the deal is, obviously they'll try to spin it as some kind of great victory for Russia. Right. And so it would make sense for him to use Trump becoming president as an excuse to essentially work out some kind of deal. So those both make total logical sense to me. I don't know enough about what's on like the facts on the ground to really predict the outcome of this one. So I'm just gonna say I don't know.
Yeah, what is the victory? What is how does Putin pull out
The
and
victory
claim
would-
victory?
The victory would be, so looking at kind of this deal, and I'm going to read part of the article, like, but what the deal could be, it could be that Russia gets, 20% of Ukraine or whatever. They get some, big chunk of Ukraine. And then Ukraine pinky promises to never join NATO. NATO pinky promises that they'll never let Ukraine join.
Neither one of us believe that's what Putin even wants. So I mean, that's
I know,
nothing.
I know,
That's like,
I know,
who
I know
fucking
he
cares?
doesn't, but I'm saying, but he can use it to like as an excuse. This would be like, this is like, go back to his people and be like, listen, look what I got.
Okay. So Putin can spin it to his people. Oh, they're not going to join NATO.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And that essentially there'll be some kind of, the security guarantee will be some kind of European force will patrol the borders or be stationed on the borders or whatever, and the lines will be drawn in the sand wherever they are, and Putin will just say, we got, we saved, because like, remember, a big chunk of the original like propaganda bullshit that Putin put out was, oh, I don't want you to join Ukraine, and also we have to protect the Russian speakers because they're going to be killed by the evil Nazis in Ukraine. And so he can say, oh, look, they're not going to join NATO. And also we got the area that has the Russian speakers in it. So we've saved them from being killed by Nazis. So victory accomplished.
Right.
And we also got Crimea. We have our little port. We got whatever mineral access is available in the areas that we conquered. So there's definitely a way that he could spin it to his people as a victory. I definitely see it as a possibility.
I don't know about the NATO thing. I don't know if the Russian people think Putin is afraid of NATO. I don't know if that's like a popular narrative in Russia. Like the Russian people are like, we're afraid of Ukraine of entering NATO. And as they're somewhat patriotic, I believe, in Russia. They're somewhat nationalistic. So do you think that's a narrative that really goes around the Russian people? Like everyone's going to sigh a breath of relief if Putin comes back and says, woo, they're not going to join NATO.
So the way that this was sold to the West through propaganda.
Yes, to the West, but
yes.
what is the Russian people thinking? That's
I'm going to tell you.
question.
I'm going to tell you in a second. Okay. The way this was sold to the West through propaganda was, oh my God, Russia is the innocent baby angel. They're so worried about their security, even though they have nukes. So you don't really expect any, first world country to get into a fucking nuclear conflict with Russia. So the whole idea about them being so concerned is kind of retarded anyway, but whatever. That was sort of what was sold to the West, by a bunch of America bad kind of left and right brain rot people. But I think this is my understanding from the information that I've seen, in Russia, it was not really, the concept wasn't, you're correct, the concept wasn't fear or safety of NATO. It's more of like pride.
Saving them. Yes.
Well, no, it's more of a question of pride and like psychic emotional damage of like, Russia has always viewed Ukraine, much to Ukraine's, chagrin and anger, that like, as like, they've always viewed Ukraine as like their baby brother, who's really part of Russia. Even though
totally.
Ukraine. And so to them, it's more like a pride issue that if Ukraine joins the EU, which might also be part of the deal that they won't join the EU, if Ukraine joins the EU or joins NATO, it's just like such a slap in the face to Russia. Like, you're so, you're such a past world power. You're so unimportant anymore. Your own baby brother has left, to join the other side's team. And so I think to that, like, so if Ukraine doesn't join NATO or EU, I think it's more of like the pride issue that they're happy about. I don't think it's really like a safety issue.
That's a good way to spin it, obviously. The narrative is that they're saving the Ukrainian people from
the evil West,
from the Nazis. Well, a lot of it was saving them from Nazis. I look at the Tucker Carlson interview because the Tucker Carlson interview is, I think, that is Putin speaking to his people. Like, he knows his people are going to watch this. And so he's really, really talking to them. And in that interview, they don't really bring up the NATO thing. I mean, Tucker Carlson brings up the NATO thing, and Putin doesn't even really answer him on the NATO thing.
Yeah,
he's like,
we covered that at the time. That's a great point, because that interview is very interesting, because from Putin's perspective, that interview is for the point of his people.
Yes.
And Tucker is trying to, from Tucker's point of view, the point of the interview is for like the West.
The West,
So,
yeah, exactly.
So Tucker is focusing on the talking points of like, well, aren't you worried about NATO? And when he actually said that, like Putin was like offended and like,
yes,
it was
totally.
like, no, obviously we're not. Like, he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's crazy. Like he was completely dismissive of everything, all these like dumb, America bad Western talking points that Tucker kept trying to feed him. Tucker kept trying to feed him all these lines, and Putin just kept swatting them away, because that's not the narrative. First of all, I don't think it's true, but that's also not the narrative that Putin wants to feed to his own people.
Yeah, Tucker is trying to make Putin seem empathetic to a Western audience, and Putin is trying to make himself seem strong to a Russian audience.
Right.
So, and that's just why I'm not sure this whole, they don't join NATO is going to be like a big deal for Putin. Look, Putin is the one that will ultimately make the decision. And I don't know what anyone can offer him to make him leave. Really don't. I think, look, and I think Trump is coming to this conclusion as well. Even just you mentioning the fact that he's hedging on Putin even wanting peace. Trump knows people. He knows, that fucker, he knows. He's like, this guy has all the fucking leverage. I can't do fucking shit here. So that's why I'm thinking that he has put together this mineral deal as something that he can establish the status quo, because there's no way Trump is going to be like, oh, okay, well, we're just going to stop supporting Ukraine, pull out, and I'm just going to let Putin fuck me up the ass politically. You think Trump is going to do that?
I think you're giving Trump way too much 10D credit here, because what you're saying makes sense. Okay.
Right. Okay.
But whenever I hear Trump talk about the mineral deal, the vibe I get is he's just angry that America is paying Ukraine. Like, it's not like a greater concept of like him trying to stand up for Ukraine, trying to sell this to Ukraine. It's just like, I'm just mad that we have to pay for this. And this is complete speculation. I honestly wonder if Trump honestly believes that crazy guy that tried to shoot him at the golf course. Because remember, that guy that tried to shoot him at the golf course was some big like Ukraine guy. He was American. He went to like Ukraine to fight. He was like a massive Ukraine supporter. He was presumably going after Trump because he thought Trump would be bad for Ukraine. And when that happened, there's all these conspiracies from like the retard, Pasabic influencer spaces on the internet, right-wing MAGA space, where they were making completely unfounded, accusations that this guy was literally sent by the Ukrainian government to do this action. And I honestly wonder if Trump believes that shit. And maybe that's part of why he has this sort of like very strong stance against Ukraine in the situation. I don't know, but I wouldn't be that surprised. So to me, I just look at it like Trump just wants to extract money out of Ukraine because he's like, America paid for it, and now it's, our time to get what's ours. I think it's just that simple. I'm not kind of looking at it this kind of more more intelligent plan that you're kind of laying out here.
Okay. What is the argument on the shooter, the attempted Trump assassin? I guess it was the second guy who. It
was the second guy, yeah.
Right. So
there was some conspiracy.
How did that influence Trump?
No, I was saying that there was some conspiracy that all these people, these retards, were throwing around that the Ukrainian government sent that guy to kill Trump.
Okay.
And if Trump believes that, obviously that's going to have an impact on, these negotiations.
Holy shit. This is a lot of our conversations we have a completely different view of Trump. Like, you think Trump is like a fucking moron, like a complete idiot.
No. Well, that's not fair. I don't think Trump's a moron. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think Trump's biggest strength is not that he has some sort of Machiavellian power to like craft these like super logical, 10D chess, deals. I think his biggest strength is that he's really good at projecting strength, and he's really good at reading like vibes in people.
And he's
kind
good
of
about
like
picking deals where he has leverage.
right. Well, yes, he's very good at picking deals that he has leverage, and he's very good at sort of like playing people against each other. Once he's already in like a powerful position.
But if he believes what you just said, he's a fucking moron. Like, I don't see how you could believe that and not be a moron.
I mean, listen, okay.
Well, look, I
He
think
believes
Trump,
he won the elections in 2020.
look, I'm basing my information. I've read a bunch of books by a
Right.
bunch of insiders who like both for and against Trump. So
Yeah.
I think I don't think Trump is like some fucking
It's not a question
amazing
of being-
genius or
it's not a
anything like
question of
that. But I don't
being-
think he's a moron.
Well, hold on. It's not a question of being like a moron, like low IQ. It's a question of being emotional about something and put into a place where your emotionality is sort of overtaking your better judgment.
I don't think
And
he's
it-
emotional like that.
Well, wait a minute, because this was something that we talked about a lot. This came up with the whole Bill Barr thing in 2020. With the election, he goes through all the fraudulent claims or all the claims of fraud that he was saying existed about why he really won the election. Bill Barr, the guy who defended him like vociferously up until that point, he goes through all the claims like boom, 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 boom. All these things are debunked, and then Trump just doesn't believe them, and he only turns to believe and he doesn't believe any of the other lawyers. He doesn't believe anyone in the DOJ. The only people Trump believes about the 2020 election are like Sidney Powell's retarded ass and Giuliani, who said that they had theories and no actual evidence, and the My Pillow guy. Like all the people that seem like the intelligent people that have the information, he just completely doesn't believe them, and he believes the crazy people in the room.
This is, first of all, this is an entirely different situation because
Well, no,
obviously,
I'm just saying that this is, to me, this is like, I add this in my thought process of why I'm saying like, okay, I think Trump definitely can believe, bad advice, definitely fall prey to his emotions and not just be some sort of like,
let me
thinking
finish.
like 10 steps ahead.
Let me
situation.
finish.
Okay.
Let me finish what I was going to say. Okay. The situation is completely different because you're dealing with a situation where just a catastrophe has happened to Trump. Like he can't ever imagine himself losing the election. Like he's going to be a one-term president. He's going to be a complete loser. So a person in that situation, it's like their entire world is crumbling. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In the fucking Ukraine situation, Trump is not in that situation, okay? He's on the top of the world. He's not, my entire worldview is collapsing around me, so I'm going to believe a bunch of people's nonsense bullshit, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's thinking clearly here. So I agree with you in the situation with Bill Barr and stuff that he's obviously going to be emotional, but I don't think Trump just in general is an emotional person and is going to look at this from that emotional, my entire worldview is collapsing around me point of view. So they're like apples and oranges here. It's a completely different situation.
I understand what you're saying. That's only relative to the whole, did he believe, as I said, possible? I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
I'm just
look,
saying, wait, hold on. Let me just finish. I'm just speculating. I've said it's possible that he thought that maybe Ukraine has something to do with that crazy guy in the golf course because a lot of pundits were pushing that narrative. Okay. In terms of this negotiation, I'm not saying, okay, my argument was not, oh my God, I think 100% certainty that Trump is like, just trying to throw up Ukraine to Russia because he thinks this. You said, what do I think he's doing? I said, I think he's just saying America spent a lot of money on Ukraine. I think we should get that money back. I'm extracting money from Ukraine. I want it, period. Like that's the end of the thought process. That's all I say. I think that's his thought process, which is not an emotional thought process. It's a very logical thought process. It's just a straightforward thought process on this deal.
Well, look, in all of these insider books, obviously Trump is hyper aware of being liked by his base and wanting to sell things to his base. So
yes,
my thinking on this kind of plays into that as well. Like the mineral deal is a way for him to sell, maintaining the status quo to his base. So let's start with a point of agreement here. I think we can both agree Trump is completely focused and driven by ego, right?
Well,
he
we don't
wants
have
to be
debate.
perceived as
we don't have
a
to
winner.
debate. Listen, you have your view on it. I have my view on it. We'll find out in the coming weeks.
Well,
maybe.
no, I want to make one more point before
okay,
we move on.
you can make make it.
Okay, so do we agree Trump is completely driven by ego?
I think so. Yeah.
100%. Okay, so we're in total agreement there. He's a fucking egomaniac. That's part of what drives him. Status is everything. He wants to be perceived as a winner and not a loser, right? So for me, the big thing here is the fact that Trump told everyone through the campaign, and so much of his first days in office have been promises made, promises kept, right? He told everyone he would end the war in a day, right? He's the premium negotiator. He's going to come in. He's going to put this war to an end. Everyone, peace
His
is going to
mere
reign
presence
supreme.
will bring peace.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But he's starting to realize, well, that's not a reality here, right?
Yeah.
Putin is not going to let him do that. He has no leverage in this deal. He stumbled into a deal where he thought he had a lot of leverage, but now he's realizing he doesn't have much leverage at all, right? So I don't think he wants to let Putin win on that front. Like, if he pulls out completely and gives into his base and says, we're washing our hands of the whole thing, you guys win, he's going to be perceived as a loser, fucking loser, who said he would end the war in a day. It would be a good thing for everybody concerned. And that's not how it turned out, right? So I think Trump is setting himself up to maintain the status quo, because that outcome is definitely not, he doesn't see in his future for egoistic reasons. Yeah.
That's why as I said, your explanation, completely logical. There's a sense to it. It's possible. I just don't think that's probably what's going on. Just judging by whenever I hear Trump talk about the deal, that's not the sense I get from him whenever he talks.
Well, you've definitely read more on the situation here, so you're reading.
I'm just saying, like, when I listen to
on.
him, like, maybe Trump is just very good at keeping his emotions close to the chest. But every clip I hear him talk about the deal, like, he's just dripping with this energy of like we spent this money on Ukraine. We deserve it back. Like, to me, that's like the foremost thing that he's exuding. Now,
well, that's how you sell it to the base.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
How you sell the status quo to the base.
Maybe he's a very good salesman and he does have this idea and he's just good at completely a master at projecting the emotion itself to the base. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm just saying, based on his vibe, that's where I'm at. So.
He's selling everyone that we have this massive investment there.
I understand.
And this investment has to pay off. And the mineral deal
I get it.
Adds to that. Like, if we don't get the mineral deal, we got jack shit. And look, if we pull out, but look, I guess we'll find out. I mean, how long do we have here? I think, look, Putin is not pulling out. I think this thing's going to go on for another year or so, or 2 years maybe, or 3 years. I'm not sure. I think we're kind of drifting into status quo territory.
Okay, well, listen, we'll find out probably in the next week or so whether Russia, assuming this deal goes forward, whether Russia will come to any sort of deal or not. So, and I'm saying I have no clue. Both sides seem persuasive to me, so I guess we'll find out what happens. But
yeah, look, I don't have a crystal ball either. So,
right.
Like,
but let me read a little bit of this article here. So it says Kiev has agreed terms with Washington on a mineral deal. This is according to Financial Times, and it has been reported to other places. So I'm assuming it's true, even though it's been very on and off recently. Has agreed terms with Washington on mineral deals that Ukraine officials hope will improve relations with the Trump administration and pave the way for a long-term U.S. security commitment. Ukrainian officials say Kiev is now ready to sign the agreement on jointly developing its mineral resources, including oil and gas, after the U.S. dropped demands for a right to $500 billion in potential revenue from exploiting the resources. The officials argued that they have negotiated far more favorable terms and depicted the deal as a way of broadening the relationship with the U.S. to shore up Ukraine's prospects after 3 years of war. Quote, the mineral agreement is only part of the picture. We have heard multiple times from the U.S. administration that's part of a bigger picture, says Ukraine's deputy prime minister and justice minister who led the negotiations. So it seems like they're expecting more, they're just looking at this deal as like the opening gambit. They think this is just going to pave the way for further negotiations, further guarantees from the U.S., which, I mean, we'll see. If you're right, Adam, if your view of it is right, then that's what will happen. This deal will just open the way for Trump to basically, give an excuse or a reason or a justification to give more money to Ukraine. And if that happens, then I'll say, wow, you totally were right.
Right. Even in the article,
So-
they say long-term U.S. security commitment.
Right.
What are they talking about?
Well, security commit, because Ukraine's big thing is they want an actual security guarantee, which supposedly this deal still doesn't really have in it. So it
What-
sounds kind of like Ukraine is basically hoping they're like, okay, we'll agree to the financial thing, and we're really hoping we're going to get some sort of security guarantee down the road here.
Have we not given them a security guarantee under the Biden administration? I mean, we basically said we're gonna prop you up as long as you want to fight, right?
Yeah, but that's not a guarantee under the Trump administration.
It isn't. But look,
No.
they're negotiating right now a
Right.
long-term U.S. security commitment, which is the exact same thing the Biden administration did, and
Right.
it's completely divorced from whether or not Putin actually leaves, right?
Yes.
Yeah, which is good because Putin is not going to leave.
The original draft's highly onerous terms, which President Donald Trump presented as a means of Ukraine repaying the U.S. for military and financial aid since Russia's 2022 full-scale invasion, provoked outrage in Kiev and other European capitals. Blah, blah, blah. The dictator comment. The final version of the agreement, dated February 25th and seen by the Financial Times, would establish a fund into which Ukraine would contribute 50% of proceeds from future monetization of state-owned mineral resources, including oil and gas and associated logistics. The fund would invest in projects in Ukraine. It excludes mineral resources that already contribute to the Ukrainian government's coffers, meaning it would not cover the existing activities of Naftogaz or Yurkanaft, Ukraine's largest gas and oil producers. However, the agreement omits any reference to U.S. security guarantees, which Kiev has originally insisted on in return for agreeing to the deal. It also leaves crucial questions such as the size of the U.S. stake in the fund and the terms of joint ownership deals to be hashed out in follow-up agreements. So it is actually kind of interesting. I am wondering what exactly is the deal then? Is this sort of just like, I mean, is this really a deal, or is this really just sort of like an agreement to figure out a deal in the future? I guess we'll have to wait till we can see exactly what it says.
Well,
But-
isn't there a clip of Trump saying we would have to put troops in to protect our interest? Maybe that's about Gaza. So I just so they're in a war. We're going to do some development in Ukraine. Hopefully it's not in the actual war zone, right? But we're going to have to protect our assets there. So this is just obviously we're going to have to at least guarantee security of the American businesses that are developing the natural resources, right?
Yeah, but you could, what the concern, I guess, would be is that essentially, and I believe this happened in the Middle East as well, is like, okay, so you have American troops that are protecting the oil field or the mine or
the green
whatever.
zone.
Right. But then, Russia can just walk around those areas and take over everything else.
Yeah.
So it's like, is that really a security guarantee at that point?
And how is this not just a complete provocation, right? I mean, people were mad that Biden was supporting Ukraine from afar. Now we're actually going to have troops there guarding American corporations. Oh my
Maybe.
God.
Because it seems like right now, what seems like is in the deal is that I know you're saying Trump had made some comment about maybe U.S. troops protecting the actual resources.
I
It
can't
seems like
remember if it was on.
it was on
Gaza,
both.
though.
It was on both.
Yeah.
But it seems like that he hasn't repeated that since. It seems like I don't know if that's still on the
Probably
table.
wise not to
Right.
repeat that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's on the table. It seems like the way everyone is talking about this is that essentially there's not really going to be U.S. troops on the ground in Ukraine involved. It's going to be, military troops from some European countries or maybe non-American NATO troops or something that are going to be on the border that are supposedly peacekeepers. What exactly that means, what exactly the role is, what exactly the rules of engagement are, I don't know.
You can't put NATO troops in Ukraine, though. Obviously.
Well, I don't know apparently because there was something, the word was that essentially America was trying to basically tell Europe, you're going to put troops on the ground. They can be NATO troops, but if any of those troops get attacked, it's not going to trigger Article 5, essentially, of NATO.
Mm-hmm.
So he's basically what Trump is basically trying to do is say, the U.S. is going to get like the money out of these developments, but Europe is going to have to cover all the future costs of security. That's essentially the deal he's trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, which, I mean, from a business perspective, obviously that would be what you'd want. You want
That's
all
a
the
slaughter,
profit with no
though.
cost, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Now I don't know if Europe's going to agree to that. Europe does seem somewhat amenable to that idea, which is kind of interesting. So maybe US will get lucky list in that regard. So because if
This
Trump
is
can swing
just-
that deal, obviously it would be seen as like a massive win, assuming that they don't have to give up too much to Russia, and then Trump will, that'd be a huge feather in Trump's cap, in this opening days of his administration.
Protecting Ukraine is way easier to sell if we actually have American assets in Ukraine. So it just seems like they're trying to get American assets in Ukraine so that they can continue to protect Ukraine.
Right. Yeah, maybe we'll see. I mean, the average voter, maybe that works on the pundit class of MAG on the internet doesn't care.
Oh, they're
about
gonna fucking
assets
hate that
at all. Yeah,
they're gonna
They're
hate that.
they're
like,
completely
what?
against this. So
We're creating jobs in Ukraine. Shouldn't
Yeah.
we be creating jobs in Ohio? That's what they're gonna say.
also, there's an interesting story that also came out today. Vladimir Putin told state media yesterday, we are ready to work with our partners, including the Americans, to access mineral reserves, including in Russia-occupied Ukraine. He also suggested Russia could resume selling aluminum to the United States.
Oh my
So-
God, they're gonna start up the aluminum factory. Holy shit!
So Putin is making noise about possibly trying to undercut the Ukrainian mineral deal by offering a counter Russian mineral deal to the United States. I don't know how serious that is, but he definitely made noise about it. So he's like,
who
maybe
thinks
they'll
this guy's gonna leave?
maybe
Who thinks that?
maybe they'll dangle, maybe because it wouldn't be out of character for Putin to basically let Ukraine and America run themselves, into exhaustion, trying to come up with a deal, and then basically just say, well, here's my alternative deal. And then he's going to run, the Russian, he's going to run the US negotiators into circles in Saudi Arabia just with BS or with their own negotiating deals or whatever. So that's definitely
Yeah,
possible.
He's gonna say, "Look, we'll take care of the security for you. We'll go in on the mineral deal with you. Hell,
Right,
we're
well-
already there with a bunch of troops.
Right. How about, he's like, well, listen, if you're just after minerals, we have minerals, right? We
Yeah.
have oil, we have minerals. Maybe we'll make our own deal. So we'll see. What
Yeah,
that looks
look,
like.
that bodes horribly for this idea that Putin is going to leave. Look, Putin leaves, he loses all his leverage, doesn't he? What leverage does he have if he leaves?
It depends, because if Putin and Trump can have like a good relationship, which I mean, at least they're projecting that they have a good relationship. I don't know what's actually going on behind the scenes. They could make some agreement that essentially Russia leaves and then Trump's going to like push. I don't know if he can do it or if he has to get Congress to essentially remove all the sanctions from Russia so they can because that's what Trump is basically projecting, that if Russia agrees to leave, they'll just pull all the sanctions off. They can go right back to selling gas and minerals and everything to Europe and to America again. And there won't be any, penalties or sanctions further. So.
Yeah.
There
think,
was also
I think Trump is in a dick measuring contest with Putin. I think
We'll
that's
see.
what's going on here. Yeah.
Also, there was a story that was rumored but turned out to not be true. There was a rumor that came out that the EU was offering its own mineral deal to Ukraine to try to snake the US mineral deal, but this has apparently been denied by the EU. This is not
Everyone
actually
wants
the
to
case.
sell us aluminum.
Everyone wants, yes.
What's up with this aluminum factory?
I don't know, man.
Supposedly
know-
there's a aluminum factory that is shut down, which could supply some substantial portion of the aluminum that the U.S. uses every year. And I think we're tariffing different. Tariffing Canada is kind of put a kibosh a lot of aluminum we get from Canada. So
Interesting. Yeah, there was another thing that was kind of weird, which is that, there was the talks where Trump had basically said, oh, we're going to throw these like big 25% tariffs on Canada, Mexico. And then they came to some agreement. And then now they're back. Now the tariffs are back. So I don't know if this is just going to be a continual thing we're going to see every month where like Trump is going to, threaten these tariffs on Canada and Mexico until they move on whatever he wants them to move on, and then they go away, or if they're actually going to come into effect. So I guess we're going to find out. I would imagine Canada and Mexico would get very annoyed if it's like every month they have this 25% tariff thing pop up.
I mean, the point of the tariffs is really to reshore manufacturing and pick up our economy and create more jobs. So, and I think it's really an open question whether or not that's going to work. And if the economy starts to deteriorate, I'm not sure anything Trump is doing is going to help it, or anything Trump has in mind to do will restore the economy. So,
Right.
I mean, it will be interesting if we're in exactly the same place we were when COVID hit, right? If the economy starts tanking and Trump doesn't know what to do.
It's very possible. It's very possible. I mean, there are a lot of stories. This has been going on for like a year or so. You know, we talk about it. Warren Buffett's pulling all of his money out of stocks
Yeah.
and putting them into short-term treasuries because he basically thinks the market's going to crash any day now, I guess. And so, you know, there's all this talk about, you know, people think the economy is going to go south. And obviously, even if it's like not, you know, everyone always blames the president for the economy. And I've always said, I don't know if it's ever really fair to blame the president for the economy, because usually there's like things that take years in the making that kind of lead to these sort of economic disasters. But obviously, it's going to look super mega bad for Trump politically if right when he becomes president, they start slashing government jobs left and right, and then the economy tanks, right? It's going to look very, people are definitely going to interpret it like that action caused the economy to go down, and that's going to look really bad for Trump. So,
yeah, it's not a good. I mean, the causal connection is easy to draw, right? People
Yes.
lose their jobs, and what do they immediately start doing? They start saving and stop spending, right?
Right.
When people stop spending, that causes a dip in the economy. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that could happen. I keep trying to get the numbers on how many people they're actually firing. I mean, they're bragging about it, but
I think
like
it's still kind of up
raising
in the air now.
unemployment. Yeah.
Right. And also, I don't know if there's going to be, you know, how many lawsuits are going to be spawned from all his firings. And so we'll see what that all shakes out. There's this, before I do want to play a clip of the Macron thing, but before I do that, kind of because we're on the subject, there was this article I saw today that was not, I was not a fan of. It says Trump is trying to kill the CHIPS Act, which I had no clue.
What?
Yeah. So this was the CHIPS Act, Biden and the Democrats, really pushed for this and they got it passed. And it was basically trying to invest a bunch of money into trying to make these high-end chips in America instead of Taiwan, right? Which I thought everyone was in favor of, but apparently that's not the case. It says Donald Trump's administration plans to cut approximately 500 jobs at the National Institute of Standards and Technology, potentially jeopardizing the future of the CHIPS Act. Analyst Robert Mayer said these cuts could effectively kill the initiative to bolster domestic semiconductor manufacturing. If there are no, quote, if there are no employees left to administer the CHIPS Act program, it is dead by default, as there's no one left to certify that companies have met their requirements, let alone write the checks. So essentially what they're saying is that you have Doge cuts that may essentially, either intentionally or accidentally, because there's a lot of just slash and burn going on here, cut a huge chunk of the workforce who's actually supposed to be giving out and overseeing the CHIP Act's funds, which means that then no one will be able to get the CHIPS Act's funds, and then the CHIP Act will die essentially, or those companies will be, heavily slowed down.
But they're not enforcement. They're basically financiers for American chip manufacturers to develop facilities in the United States. Is that what's going on?
Yes, the people that
gotcha.
oversee the grants related to the CHIP Acts are supposedly massively being fired. And the reason for that is because what the Trump administration is doing is they're firing all the probationary employees, because it's apparently legally, it's like significantly easier to fire probationary employees. And that means people that were hired, I don't know if it's like 1 year or 2 years, people that have either been hired for 1 or 2 years, or people that have recently changed job positions are also in this probationary period. It makes it much easier to fire them. And since the Biden administration was like trying to ramp up the CHIPS Act recently, that means it was very easy for them to essentially fire, all these probationary, quote, probationary employees who were involved with, overseeing the CHIPS Act. So
yeah, that sucks.
So we'll see what happens with that. Now it does say that they've been planned, so maybe they'll cancel that. Maybe they'll hire them back. I hope, because obviously I think that's a really poor decision if those people are fired.
Yeah, I wish the Democratic Party could purge themselves of all the America haters, and I wish the Republican Party could purge themselves of all the government haters, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't think government has to be inefficient by like nature. I think if we actually work together to have a more efficient government, I think that would be good. So, but a lot of times it just goes against conservative philosophy.
Yes.
Everything
unfortunately.
must be done in the private sector. Holy cow, we have like 1,200 live viewers. I can't believe that.
Thank you.
That must be a lot of welcome DGG refugees to our live stream. Thank you for joining us today. I know you guys have been having a lot of trouble over there. A lot of unsavory rumors going around about Epstein. So, but yeah, welcome.
In good news, the good news outside of those things, Taiwan detained a Chinese ship that they believe possibly is responsible for cutting the underwater internet cables.
A ship?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, what did it had the cutters in its hands?
Well,
it's
no,
like,
so,
shit.
So basically, Taiwan has been accusing China of harassing them recently, where what China does, and what they're alleged of doing, is that they'll send a ship out there. The ship will drop its anchor around where the line is, and they just drag the anchor by accident, and they just rip up the entire line, making it so they can't get internet in Taiwan. Whoopsie daisies,
all
total accident.
nonchalantly. That's a pretty good move.
Right. Now they did, because this story did take place. I remember we talked about it a few weeks ago, where there was some ship that seemed very sus because it was like around the area where the lines are very specifically. And obviously they tell ships not to go where the lines are. So, it shouldn't be like an accident thing. And that the ship, apparently they're accusing it of having like a false registration or changing its registration code that it like beams out to everyone. So there's also a lot of suspect behavior. So they have detained this ship.
Wow.
So they're going to do an investigation to make a determination.
It's got one of those license plates that flips around.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, it's like an old what's it called? Where they used to have the booze back in the days and it was illegal.
A booze runner.
Yeah, and like they like press a button and like all the flags change from like Chinese flags to like Korean flags or something.
That's
They're like,
crazy.
no, we're not Chinese, not at all. So, okay, and then the other story before we watch the clip here of Macron that a lot of people were talking about was, so there was a UN vote essentially that was a non-binding resolution to essentially, it was to mark the 3rd anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and it was a resolution to condemn Russia for invading Ukraine. And a lot of news was made because the US, for the first time, did not side with Europe and actually sided with Russia and not pushing for this non-binding resolution.
Wow. Okay.
And so obviously the way it all shakes out is people who don't like Trump say, oh my God, Trump is simping to Putin. This is disgusting. This is a complete disgrace. America sucks shit. Oh my God, our country is falling apart. We're taken over by oligarchs, etc. And then the Trump supporters will say, you guys are stupid. He's doing this as a negotiation tactic. He, obviously to make a negotiation with Putin, you have to play nice to some degree. Peace is more important than some sort of non-binding virtue signaling resolution, right? So those are the two arguments. To me, the answer to that is going to be entirely conditional on, we're going to have to see whatever the deal is. I think even if Russia doesn't agree to a deal, I think it's probably going to get leaked, because a lot of the Ukraine mineral deal stuff seemed like it was getting leaked pretty consistently. So I wouldn't be surprised if whatever US deal is trying to push with Russia gets leaked. So if we find out that US is bending over backwards and letting Russia fuck us and Ukraine in the ass, then the people that are anti-Trump will be proven correct, and they'll say, oh, he totally was just placating to Putin. If that's not the case, and there actually is some good deal, whether Russia agrees to it or not, then it'll show that, no, actually the pro-Trump side was correct, and he was just trying to play ball with Putin. So I know no one wants to wait and see on any of these things. Everyone wants to take a very hard stance on it. But for me, I'm just going to have to see what the actual deal is before I jump on, one clear side of this issue or not.
Right. What is the deal that they're making? What is this deal about?
We don't know yet. It's going to be
Okay.
whatever the U.S.-Russia peace agreement looks like.
Right.
So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I guess obviously I'd be more on the side of you got to play nice even if you're trying to get a deal.
right.
Politically, I don't know if that's a good move though, because I don't think a deal is really going to manifest itself, and then you're going to get fucked politically by
Well, that's a great
not
point
going into yeah.
Yeah, because even if we find out that America was pushing for some kind of fair deal, if the no deal materializes, people won't perceive it that way, and they'll just perceive it as essentially Trump bending over for Putin and then getting
Yeah.
played for a sucker, essentially.
That's the narrative
So-
that's probably going to
Right. And so that is part of the concern, I would guess, for Trump, is kind of really throwing a lot of he's really throwing a lot of his capital into Putin to essentially control. And that obviously, as a politician, you don't want to be in that situation at all.
Oh, it's a terrible situation to
So-
be in. Yeah. I just think everybody seems to be aligned on the fact that Putin is he can't be trusted. Obviously, he just fucks with people.
Mhm.
So it's so strange, because so many of these deals that Trump has done, he gets himself in a situation where he has superior leverage. I don't know why he's in this situation. I guess because
Well,
he
he
just
has to be.
overpromised during the election.
I mean, he's in this position. I mean, he can't, if you're in a business dealing, I guess you can always just make the decision to not do the deal or not be in the business situation where you're president.
Right.
Like, you have to deal with the events that are thrown your way. You can't just tap out. So
Right.
you don't really have that choice.
Well, during the election, I mean, he kept saying, that would have never happened if I was president. There'll be peace in one day, all that stuff. I guess, this is a typical salesman tactic, right? You promise the world, you
Yes.
promise the world. And then when it
Yes.
comes down to executing the deal, all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, that was obviously hyperbole there. Right.
Well, you guys believe me? I was just being hyperbolic. Come on.
Yeah,
what?
exactly.
Yeah,
I can't
duh.
give you that price. Jesus,
Right.
that price that's a steal. Come on.
Yeah.
That
I
was
was
just
just
part of the
getting you in the door.
negotiation.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Ugh. This is why people hate salesmen.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I talked to my manager and they said I can't actually do that. Wasn't technically a lie because I believed it at the time.
There you go. There you go. That's a
I
nice
just
way to
it's
frame it.
so look, everyone is on the edge of their seat for this. I haven't watched a lot of media at all, a lot of right or left wing media. So obviously the left is doing exactly what you say. They're making hay about how terrible Trump is and what a rotten deal he's going to get now. He's totally taking advantage of. But I don't know how is the right. I think Fox News will gently
Well, it's not
tiptoe
what I
away
said.
from this.
I said both the narratives. The left is
Yeah.
saying he's just bowing to Putin. Scaramucci was
Mhm.
even Scaramucci keeps throwing this idea out there. I don't really trust Scaramucci's readings of anything, but he keeps throwing out there like, oh, well, when I was working for Trump, everyone in the Trump administration kept wondering, like, what does Russia have on Trump? Why is he so deferential? So Scaramucci, like 100% believes that Trump is either getting money from Russia or they have some kind of
I don't
something
think
over
that's
his head.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not on board with that theory. I don't think that's going on. But that is the left narrative, is that Trump just wants to be a dictator. He just wants money. He doesn't care about Ukraine. He's going to throw him the bus. The right is kind of interesting because they're playing this balancing act, this tightrope walk of saying simultaneously that like Ukraine sucks and we don't want to support them, but also Trump is just using hard negotiation tactics on Putin. So it's kind of like saying both things at the same time, which is kind of fascinating. And I'm just saying here, like, I'll see. Listen, we'll see. We're going to find the answer to this question, right? Everyone wants to make the prediction so they can say, I told you so, but I'm not comfortable throwing my hat in that side of the ring. On
Well,
one
look-
side of the rings, one way or the other yet.
I agree with the right in them saying if you're going to negotiate a deal, you can't just bludgeon the guy that you're trying to make
Yes,
a deal
I
with.
do
So
think that
you
is
have to
true.
play nice.
Yes,
That is just
right.
factually correct.
Yes.
My problem is when you escalate the claim to he's playing like hardball negotiation here. Hardball implies that he actually has any kind of leverage, okay? if anything, he's bluffing. Like sooner or later, these cards are going to get turned over. And what does Trump have? Like what card can Trump play for this hardball negotiation? Like unless you're talking, oh yeah, we're going to put troops in Ukraine, or we're going to bomb fucking Moscow. Like anything you could think of that would actually give him the kind of leverage you would need in this situation, he can't do.
Right.
So what does he have other than just bluster?
Well, that's why I'm not what I said. I'm not going to like hedge on like the outcome, and I'm not going to predict the outcome, and I'm not going to try to like mind read nefarious motivations. But I guess what I will mind read, or what my vibe check on all this is, that essentially I think Trump just wants this to end. He's just trying to get this to a quick resolution. Essentially, that's like the main motivation here. And that's why I thought it was such a huge mistake for Pete Hegseth to say what he said. Essentially, to throw out some of the few cards, because I think you're right. I think Trump doesn't have a lot of leverage in the situation. I think Russia has the most amount of leverage in the situation, and so I'm not super optimistic about a good deal coming forward on Ukraine's side to all the situation.
The leverage that Trump had in his first administration was he was perceived as the kind of crazy person that would actually put troops into Ukraine, right?
I think but this is what does annoy me, is that where's the tough talking Trump? Like all that just disappeared when it comes to talking with Russia. And I don't know if that's just because he doesn't care. I don't know if it's because it's not real. I don't know if it's because there just is maybe he agrees. He just doesn't think there is leverage for him to talk tough. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I don't like the perception of that, sort of the vibe that's being given off by Trump sort of seeming to just completely roll over so far on a lot of the Russia stuff.
Well, he doesn't want to make red lines because he's ultimately his bluff is going to be called, and he knows this. He fucking knows this. Look, and it's so weird. The Hegseth stuff is insane because like all he has is the ability to bluff. And, even if he starts bluffing, he's got Hegseth come in and say, oh yeah, he doesn't have any cards, right? Like, what the fuck, dude?
Well, that's the
I'm
thing.
trying to pull a bluff here.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if it wasn't for Hegseth comments, and like, we had the situation with, North Korea where, Trump's like literally threatening to nuke Kim Jong-un.
Yes.
And it's like, if Trump was more in that mode with Russia, I would be a lot more confident that like we're going to get some kind of deal out of this. But since we're not in that mode, I'm more pessimistic about the outcome of this situation. Yeah. But I hope that, a deal obviously comes forward. I do want peace in the area. So.
Yeah, so do I. Look, I totally do. But this is why I think we're going for the status quo. Trump wants political cover for that. This mineral deal is the thing he's going to wave around and say, oh my God, look at this huge win. We have to protect our mineral deal. Right. We have to be in Ukraine. So, we're going to continue to send them weapons and let them fight. And
okay, let me play.
That's how it's gonna go.
I want to play.
How long were we in Iraq? I mean, 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
25 years.
A few minutes of when Trump talked to Macron, basically the only part that everyone saw the clips of were, and I'll play it. There's a part where, Trump says that Europe gave loans to Ukraine instead of just giving them money, and Macron says, no, we gave them money. That's not true. And everyone's just promoting that as like the, Trump gets owned part of the conversation. But I'll play that later, but I want to play this part first because I don't know a lot about Macron. I don't really follow French politics except for the fact that Candace Owens claims that she's married to a trans man, which I think is retarded.
Macron is?
Yeah, that's Candace Owens' big claim.
Hilarious.
But I do want to play a couple minutes of his like opening comments here in this news conference, because I do like a lot of what he says, and I think he does frame it pretty well. I think Macron balances the various things very well. He balances he balances being nice and complimentary to Trump. He balances being tough on Russia and being supportive of Ukraine, and also, to my surprise, completely agrees with the concept of like Europe should be way more involved with paying for the cost of the war and be more involved with the security guarantees of Ukraine. So that makes me more optimistic when I hear this sort of rhetoric.
Well, look, this could be good for Trump if he can make this into leverage, because this is the kind of leverage you need right here.
Right. No,
Yeah.
as I said, if Trump can walk away from Ukraine with a peace deal where U.S. gets a bunch of the mineral rights and Europe covers the cost of everything, I mean, that's going to be a massive win for him. That's what he's really, really hoping for that.
And he can constantly point to Europe and say, look, we're not involved in Ukraine. Europe's doing all this.
Right. Now,
and Putin doesn't win.
I guess the question is, and obviously Putin knows that's going to be a huge win for Trump. And so, I mean, I guess the question is, if Putin does do some agreement and he gives Trump this big win, he could be doing it for some, he wants to continue to have good relations with Trump as president going forward, because then Trump will remember that Putin basically gave him this winning hand here.
Yeah. I mean, what can Trump give to Putin, though? That's
I'm saying, like, well, I don't know. It could be future U.S.-Russia deals or whatever. Because right now, Russia is getting held over a barrel by China. So,
oh yeah,
who knows?
They're buying a bunch of oil from them, or
right? But
I don't know the logistics of the situation.
They're buying a bunch of oil from Russia, but at like the pennies on the
oh
gallon
yeah,
here, right?
That's it. Yeah,
like wholesale essentially. So
they're Walmarting them. China is Walmarting Russia on the oil deal.
Right.
Basically talking them down to nothing. All right, let's go.
For making changes to your schedule to meet with us so quickly. I think we've made very substantive steps forward during our discussions, and this is a major step in what we're experiencing today. We had a video conference with all of the G7 leaders, which was an opportunity for us to discuss this matter 3 days after the Russian war in Ukraine, and to express our support for President Zelensky to the Ukrainian people, but also to speak and share about our desire for a lasting peace. This is what we have spoken about very forcibly over the past few weeks. We thought that this war was only going to last a few weeks when it broke out in 2022. We admire greatly the courage of the Ukrainian people. And Mr. President, I wish to thank you for this. You mentioned that there are responsibilities on Europe's side, and indeed, we have invested $128 billion in aid to Ukraine and the Ukrainians. Ukraine has been able to hold the front of our collective security. It's fought over these past few years for its independence and for its sovereignty, but also for our collective security, because I think that no one in this room wants to live in a world where it's the law of the strongest and international borders can be violated from one day to the next by anyone. Over the past few hours, and as you mentioned this, Mr. President, we've been able to see a few things take shape. First of all, allow me to commend you on your decision to work with President Zelensky and to conclude this agreement that's so important for the U.S. and Ukraine on rare earths, critical minerals, but also having substantive conversations with President Zelensky during this key phase of achieving this deal, which is a major commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty, and I think that's very commendable. We also have a shared desire to build peace.
Okay, let me jump.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
But yeah, no, so far, pretty good speech.
Yeah.
I like it.
President has expressed the desire to be a player for peace in the region. I've spoken with some 30 European leaders and allies in recent days. We want to bring together these allies, and share the same vision. This peace must not mean a surrender of Ukraine. It must not mean a ceasefire without guarantees. This peace must allow for Ukrainian sovereignty and allow Ukraine to negotiate with other stakeholders regarding the issues it affects, But it is also a country in which we need to shoulder our responsibilities so that we ensure security and stability for Ukraine and for the entire region. And for us Europeans, this is an existential issue. We also spoke about these issues at length with the president. We've worked with President Zelensky and gotten to some of the details of the various phases of the negotiation. And we've also been able to speak about some of this work with our British partners to talk about deployments of peace forces on Ukrainian soil, which are part of these security guarantees. Other countries are ready to join in this effort. Solidarity and support from the U.S. will be crucial to this, and I thank you, Mr. President, for beginning to work with us on this issue and the agreement that you are preparing to sign with Ukraine and with all of these discussions we've had are very solid guarantees that we are understood and that we have the same wish, peace as soon as possible, lasting, solid peace for everyone. And the renewal of an international situation where we are all able to shoulder our responsibilities, Europeans shouldering their responsibilities alongside their American allies who will shoulder their own responsibilities. I also wanted to be very clear, Mr. President, about Europe's commitment. We have committed to building a lasting peace. As Europeans, we have committed to being stakeholders in these security guarantees. And we are also well aware that Europeans need to do more for security in Europe, for defense in Europe, and to more fairly share the security burden that your country's been carrying for so many years. Mr.
Music to my ears. This is easy to sell to the base. This is like exactly what they want.
Well, that's why this is what makes me. I was very optimistic. I'm annoyed that so much of the focus was on Macron touching Trump's leg, because like that just makes all the Trump fans go, oh fuck Macron, fuck Europe, right? You know, the left is doing victory laps when I'm like, okay, like we'll watch that. That's fine, but like this to me is like this is way more important, as it does seem like Europe is on board with this process.
This is why I hate fucking American media, because it's so just riddled with all this bullshit. Yeah.
Of course. Well, that's what's annoying is like all these foreign interactions are just either like Trump totally owned Day Cave or Trump totally got cucked and destroyed. It's like, oh my God, like fuck, please.
Yeah, it makes peace a lot harder, right? Obviously.
It does. Well, it just makes, I mean, I don't know how much it affects the peace process. I mean, I guess it does, because everyone like the presidents of all these countries know they have to go back to their own press.
Yeah.
But it just also makes everyone completely uninformed in the process. So,
well, ultimately, in order for these things to happen, they have to be sold to the people in democratic countries. So it makes it more difficult for Trump to sell what he wants to do. So he can't sell it to the left and he can't sell it to the right. Who's he going to fucking sell it to?
Yeah.
Mr. President, you know how much friendship I show towards you and I have towards you since your first term. Europe is very clear-eyed about
Trump. What we're listening to is what Trump is hearing. Well, it might be a different interpreter, but it is interesting that there's this language barrier. Have you seen the video where they've taken, I think it's Javier? What is the guy who got the crypto thing? I can't remember his name, but he does a speech basically in his native language, and they use AI to make him sound like he's speaking perfect English. It will be a lot better when the interpreter.
Malay, you mean? Yeah.
Malay, yeah.
Malay, yeah. Right.
Once we can actually do that, and Trump can listen to him in his own voice speaking English, oh my God. And it's synced up with his.
That'd be nice.
With his movements and whatnot.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting.
So much of the communication is being lost by the interpreter, obviously.
about this. We know what we need to do as Europeans, given the threats surrounding us and the responsibilities that we must shoulder. We spoke about the Versailles Agenda, which allowed the Europeans to take a historic step and increase their investments. Europeans are ready to do even more and to go even farther. And several leaders said that to me before I came here to meet you. Mr. President, dear Donald, you spoke about this peace through strength. We fully share that, because we must recognize the sacrifices made by the Ukrainian people and what we owe to them. The president and I also spoke about economic matters and...
Okay, we don't need to hear about that, but this is about like tariffs and stuff. So that, makes me optimistic. That definitely makes me optimistic.
Trump doesn't think we owe Ukraine anything, though, obviously. So,
right.
But look, he's buttering him up. He's doing the same thing Trump is trying to do with Putin. So, which is smart, obviously. Though your political detractors can spin it against you.
Yeah. I mean, it does look like Trump and Macron, I don't know if they have some history together, but it does seem like they have a pretty good working relationship with each other. It definitely seems like they like each other. So,
Dear Donald.
Dear Donald.
Eiffel Tower, having dinner with your wonderful wife and with my wonderful wife, and we came out and he started speaking the French deal. And we didn't have an interpreter, and he was going on and on and on, and I was just nodding, yes, yes, yes. And he really sold me out, because I got back the next day and I read the papers. I said, that's not what we said. He's a smart customer, I will tell you that. True. That was exactly what we agreed to.
That's kind of funny. So, okay, let me...
Why'd he grab his dick?
Well, obviously, listen, I mean, he's married to a trans woman, so obviously it's what he's into, right?
It's funny. It's totally funny, because that's a salesman move. They teach you in sales, like,
the touch the person, yeah.
Well, obviously not in a creepy way, right?
Right,
but,
right.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, listen, Macron, I don't know enough about him, but I think he definitely comes off like a really good salesman. At least in his
politics
speech.
Is a sales job. It is.
Okay, so this is the moment. This is the moment that everyone was talking about. Okay.
Well, that wasn't the moment when he grabbed his leg already?
No. They grab each other's legs multiple times for this conversation.
That was just the foreplay for the leg grabbing?
That was just the foreplay, yeah. There's another part, I forget, I don't have the time code, where Trump grabs Macron's leg, and Macron seems kind of uncomfortable by it, which is weird, because he's been grabbing Trump's leg. So there's interesting body language. Also, there's a part, I don't have time code, but it kind of goes into the UN vote, which is interesting, where someone asks why did you vote against the UN thing, or do you want to explain your reasoning behind it? And he says, not this time, it should be fairly obvious. So that would definitely align up with the whole
Trump said that?
Trump said that.
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
So that definitely line up with the whole negotiation tactic way of looking at it. So.
Interesting.
This war costed all of us a lot of money. And this is the responsibility of Russia, because the aggressor is Russia.
Oh, wait, let me go back.
Look at that. He can speak English.
Yeah, he can speak English.
Proceeds of the frozen assets, but you cannot...
So they're talking about, the question, they're talking about Europe has I think billions of dollars of frozen assets from Russia. And so they're basically...
Yeah, America does too. From my understanding, they were talking about trying to give them to Ukraine, which was a big controversy.
They're trying to figure out, what to do with this.
This is, we speak about frozen assets. We already used them to back precisely the loans negotiated at the G7. And it's part of the sanctions. So it will depend on the follow-up of the discussions. But clearly, we respect international law. It's just frozen assets now. You can take the proceeds of the frozen assets, but you cannot take the assets themselves, because it's not respecting international law, and we want to respect international law.
How is one different than the other? If you can take the proceeds from it, how can you not take
Because it's very different. You keep the assets, you take the proceeds because they are paralyzed in a certain way. You take the proceeds during the wartime, but you keep the assets, and it's part of the negotiation.
So it sounds like, I don't know why she has that. It sounds like what they're saying is essentially they have a bunch of money sitting somewhere generating income through investments or through interest. And under international law, they're not allowed to just take the principal and just do whatever the fuck they want with it, but they are allowed to take the money it makes and just give it to Ukraine or give it to themselves or do whatever the fuck they want with it, which is kind of interesting.
The Biden administration was talking about giving finding a way to give the principal to Ukraine. I remember this. It was a big
Yes.
controversy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
At the end of the war. Because, I mean, this war costed all of us a lot of money. And this is the responsibility of Russia, because the aggressor is Russia.
Should the U.S. be compensated?
So at the end of the day, this frozen asset should be part of the negotiation, all in all.
Will France support the U.S. being compensated?
I support the idea to have Ukraine first being compensated, because they are the one to have lose a lot of their fellow citizens and being destroyed by these attacks. Second, all of those who paid for could be compensated, but not by Ukraine, by Russia, because they were the one to aggress.
Again, just so you understand, Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total effort, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money. To be clear, we have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but this is not as a collateral of a loan, because this is not our belonging. So they are frozen. If at the end of the day, in the negotiation we will have with Russia, they're ready to give it to us, super. It will be loan at the end of the day, and Russia would have paid for that.
If you
This is my
believe
wish.
that, it's okay with me.
Mr. President,
If they get their money back, we don't, and now we do. But, you know, that's only fair.
Mr. President, should Russia should be the one that pays.
So that was the light touch. They're almost fucked.
Trump, well, I'm focused on the actual content of what they're saying, because it is interesting. Trump is basically, he wants the money, which is, I mean, that looks good politically for his side, definitely.
Yeah, and I did try to look into the fact claim to figure out what Trump was talking about, and I couldn't really find any articles talking about it one way or the other, which was interesting too. Like, is this, where does this claim come from about the loans? So, because he's obviously, Macron saying no, we just gave them money the same way that the U.S. did. So
Just gave Ukraine money.
yeah, they gave Ukraine money through grants, and they also gave them loan guarantees, which is means that basically Ukraine would take a loan from like the World Bank or IMF or wherever, and then some European country would guarantee the loan essentially.
Right. If they don't pay it back, they'll
Right. Unless that's
they're
that's
on the
what
hook
Trump
for it.
means. Is because like for loan guarantees, when you do a loan guarantee, you're not actually you only have to pay if they default. You don't have to pay if they end up paying back. So maybe that's what
Right.
he was referring to or something. But
Well, if Russia takes over the whole country, is that a default? I guess so.
well, it depends. If Russia takes over the country and pays back, then it's not, right? Like, so that's why, Macron was also saying too, I mean, part of the negotiated settlement with Russia will be what happens to all these frozen
assets, yeah. Well, then they're basically just buying Ukraine, right?
Yes, essentially.
Which is crazy.
But that'll be an important thing to try to determine, like whether the U.S. bends over for a deal or not. I guess maybe will depend on what kind of, do we get the money? Does Ukraine get the money, or do we all just give it back to Russia and say, "Oh, you invaded Ukraine. Here you go. Here's your money back. It's totally fine."
Trump wants the money.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, we'll see, because he made such a big deal about the mineral money getting from Ukraine. Is he going to make a big deal? It would make sense for him to make a big deal about getting the frozen assets from Russia, would it not? To pay for the war.
Yeah, that would look good. That would look good to his base.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got to sell it.
Yeah, I don't know what happens if Europe just tells Russia to fuck off, and just take their money. I mean, I don't know. I guess
They're like,
I guess
we got a lot of security guarantee here. We're gonna need that money.
Right.
That's our money now.
It's like, oh, okay. I mean, you don't want to invest. You don't want to have Russia invest in European banks. I'm assuming they're not going to really do that anyway in coming, foreseeable future. So we'll see, I guess.
We'll give peace a chance, guys. Let's hope this happens.
Right. Okay. Here, wait. I gotta refresh.
Refresh. Get refreshed.
Gotta get refreshed and then read the supers here.
We'll see
The
how it
tab will actually
goes.
refresh. That'd be nice.
No bets going yet
Bets on what?
on how this is going to pan out.
Oh, also there was some. This is gonna be another thing they're gonna fight over. There's some claim of some study that's claiming that actually the amount of money and aid that U.S. has given Ukraine is significantly lower than the U.S.
You broke up. Nobody could hear what you said. You're still breaking up. Oh my goodness. That refreshed your whole computer. All right, I guess maybe I'll read some super chats then. Let's see, where were we? Did we read Gene the Angry Penguin for 28 months? Ace for $5? I'm not sure. I think we did. All right. Sitch will be restarting his computer soon. I guess I'll start at the bottom then. Here we go. We didn't read this. Gendermus Prime for $5 says, I'll start believing Europe when their defense spending is at least 3%. I believe that's of GDP. If Europe wants to go its way without the U.S., where are they going to get their gas? Oh, Europe is dependent on liquefied natural gas and oil, I think, from Russia. So I guess everyone is. China's getting it from Russia now and getting it on the cheap since they're not competing against Europe. That'll fight inflation. Steel Manning for $5 says, question for those who hate Russia. If peace meant you had to stop saying Russia is evil, should we not take it? If peace meant you had to stop saying Russia is evil, should we not take it? Look, I think the Russia is evil claim, which is generally made as a straw man by the right of people on the left.
I'm back.
Normally when I get in, like I'm accused constantly of believing that Russia is evil, which I don't believe Russia is evil, obviously. So, but this is like an argument that's foisted on me as a straw man to say, oh, I can't think rationally about the situation because I believe Russia is evil and I'm just an NPC repeating that talking point. So just the fact that you're bringing this up, that the Russia is evil thing, I don't really hear a lot of people make that argument that Russia is evil. How about you, Sitch? Do you hear that argument a lot?
I missed the beginning of what you're talking about, so I don't know.
I was reading a super chat. Steel Manning for $5 says, question for those who hate Russia. If peace meant you had to stop saying Russia is evil, should we not take it? Which, look, obviously you should take the peace deal, but
Of course.
I do hear a lot of people on the right, like as an argument, just say, you just think Russia is evil, so therefore we really can't have an intelligent conversation about this.
Well, I do feel like so much of it. I don't know. I feel like so much of it is basically just broken into trust and partisanship trust. Because if you had Biden or Harris or some, Democrat who was basically employing a strategy of saying, Russia's not evil in order to try to work out a deal with them, there would be trust from the left, obviously, that it is a tactic to get a deal. The left doesn't trust Trump, so they don't view it as a tactic to get a deal. They view it as essentially Trump just selling out to Russia.
Right.
And so that's why I'm saying I'm just going to wait and see what the deal is before I, lean in very heavily in one way or the other about, is this a sellout? Is it a negotiation tactic or whatever? So, I mean, I'm more inclined to believe it's a negotiation tactic, but we'll find out. I think most people would obviously say, if I had to stop saying Russia's evil to get peace, I'm sure that most people would be in favor of that. So
they would take the deal, yeah.
Right.
I'd take the deal. I don't look. I'm not sure I've ever said Russia is evil. I mean, I think Putin.
I think Putin is evil. I don't know if like what does it mean when we say like is everyone in the country evil? Like no, but the government is evil. Putin is evil.
Putin is a dictator.
So,
yeah, obviously.
right.
So
Putin bad. I mean, it doesn't help that the thing that doesn't help is that it's so weird. This really started with Obama, where once people forget, or maybe people weren't paying attention to politics until recently, there was like a massive amount of Obama derangement syndrome. That was like definitely wasn't as bad as like the Trump level, but it definitely rivaled it, only against the right. You know, there were so many people on the right that would just they'd have to take whatever the opposite position is of Obama. So, you know, even though Mitt Romney and the Republican Party was very anti-Russia in 2012, just 2 years later, when Russia invades Crimea and Obama comes out very hard, at least rhetorically, against Russia, the Republicans like kind of didn't really know how to handle the situation because they didn't want to also be hard on Russia, even though they'd been hard on Russia like their entire fucking lives, because they didn't want to like seem aligned with Russia. And then obviously the Hillary Clinton email Russia hack thing kind of further degraded the water. So I do think there's like all these like weird emotional feelings about Russia from people on the right, and I think it does muddy the ability for some people to think clearly about the whole situation, whether Russia gets involved, whether it's just a visceral hatred to Russia or a sort of like soft, you know, maybe even acceptance of Russia. And then there's that whole retarded fake narrative about how like Russia is some sort of, you know, right-wing conservative traditional society pushing back against the evil, you know, degeneration of wokeness, and which is a complete lie, and all that stuff kind of gets mixed into the pot. So
well, I just
there's a lot of emotions at play here.
It's funny that you're saying that people are caught up in their emotions, because that's exactly the argument the right is making when they say, oh, you just hate Russia, you just think Russia is evil. They're saying you are emotional about Russia, and therefore you can't think clearly about it. Everyone is basically trying to accuse everyone else of being emotional.
Yes.
I think you and I are like the least emotional about this situation. I think Putin is thinking about his legacy. Like Putin thinks of himself, he wants to be remembered as Alexander the Great, right? The person that reunited the Soviet Union after the Soviet collapse, right?
Yes.
Imagine if we had, I guess we did have a civil war in our history, but look, everyone's still fighting over that civil war, aren't they? It's not looked at as like a shining part of our history at all. So, yeah. So look, he's doing what he's doing for those reasons. If you want to say, oh, it's evil, I mean, I don't think that adds to the dialogue about it.
No, it's just it because I really think not everyone. I think most people's opinions on Russia and Putin are very context dependent. Like if we had a situation where, you know, Romney won the election and he was tough on Russia, and so the Republicans were still tough on Russia. And then if Russia had hacked Trump's emails instead of Hillary's, like I could definitely see like we'd be in the exact opposite situation in terms of how like people would perceive the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So, but anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you read the end, or should I go back to the top?
I read a few super chats. We should read this one because it's fun. Red Toa for $10. 20th super chat. Look at that. That's
Thanks
great.
so much, Red Toa.
Says Adam, do you call Sitch by his real or or internet name IRL? A while back, I heard you call him Sitch in the few seconds before the stream ended, when you guys thought you were off air. See, this is the thing. We know that the stream, people have told us in the comments that the stream goes on for a bit. So it's always this like uncomfortable. We don't want to say something.
I don't want to say our true feelings. Yes.
Right. But it is funny because I do call Sitch IRL. I mean, Sitch came out and visited and we hung out, and I'm pretty sure I called you Sitch. I don't remember using your real name.
I think you've only used my real name like once
and
or twice.
and kind of just to be
And in jest,
weird.
yes, because you're like, oh, it's weird calling you by your real name.
I know.
So it's funny. Listen, it took Sammy a while to like.
Does she call you by your real name?
She calls me by my real name. Yes.
Yeah.
But it took her a while to like adjust mentally to call me by my real name.
My wife has given me a hard time for calling Sitch because she's like, it's just fucking, it's weird.
There's like,
doesn't he have a real name, like a human name?
Yeah,
that you
exactly.
can call him?
This is a total gender difference,
Mhm.
and I noticed this a lot when playing WoW or other online games.
Mhm.
It's like all the men had no problem forever calling the person by their like gamer tag.
Yes. Yeah.
But all the women, like, they want to know your real name. So
Yes.
it definitely seems like a gender difference.
They don't want to play these games. Yeah.
Yeah.
I make Sitch call me Skull Crusher when we have our
There you go.
private conversations.
Sammy in the chat said Sitch is a cooler name than his real name.
Oh,
I know, it's terrible.
burn.
She said
burn.
this multiple times in real life to my face.
She doesn't like the name
Okay.
Boaz?
Boaz. She just likes Sitch because she's like, oh, well, it starts with S like Sammy, so it's better. So just see it's an ego reason. Okay.
Oh.
Steel Manning for 2. I guess I'll read backwards because I know where you stop from. Steel, did you
When are you
Steel
going
Manning
to
for
tell
2?
your, I guess you can't really tell your real name, huh?
Oh, who?
Would you ever tell your real name? I guess
don't need to.
I guess
mean,
even if you
when
did
I
a face
do-
reveal, you
Yeah,
wouldn't
I don't
do
need
a
to
real
tell
name.
people my
Yeah.
real name. Yeah, why ruin the magic? Okay.
Yeah, of course. I've already ruined the magic. I'm like, guess
exactly.
what? Adam is my real name.
Right. Steel Manning for $2 says, is the basis for media saying Trump Tulsi? It's the basis for media saying Trump and Tulsi are spies. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't like.
Is it?
Tulsi?
Okay.
Tulsi is weird. I don't know what the I'll be like, I'm, I try to give Trump a lot more. I don't think Trump is like bought by the Russians. I don't believe that narrative. So I don't buy into that. I don't know what the fuck's up with Tulsi. Tulsi's fucking weird. I don't know if she is some kind of bought by someone. I don't know if she just has America bad brain rot. But she has a lot of weird stances on a lot of things. She does definitely seem to be on the America bad side of things. I don't really know what caused that to come to fruition. So, she's
Zahan
siding
was
with
saying that-
fucking the Syrian dictator. It's very weird. She's part of a cult in Hawaii, which no one ever talks about, which is also weird.
Well, that's
So-
cool. I don't mind the cult stuff. Zion said that Peter Zion said that she has been like Putin has said that she's been a spy for years.
I've not heard that. I
Yeah,
heard him
I-
say that, but I didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah, that's the first time I ever heard it. And I thought,
Right.
He makes a bunch of claims in that video that I'm like, well, where the fuck did that come from? And he just says it like, oh, this is common knowledge.
Right.
What? I don't remember Putin saying in the Tucker interview that Tulsi Gabbard is on their payroll. Like, how is this common knowledge? Where?
Yeah, I don't know.
Where am I supposed to hear this? And Zion, I mean, I'm a little. Zion is a salesman too. Peter Zion is a salesman too. So
Mhm.
I lost a lot of faith in him when he came out with the declaration that obviously Biden was going to win the election. Like, yeah, exactly.
Way off on that prediction. yeah.
Way off on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when we were all saying, oh, I wonder if Biden, how really cognitively declined Biden really is. And he didn't seem
Yeah.
to take any of that into consideration. So, but he does these talks with a lot of, I think, national security people and stuff like that. So it gives him the street cred, the gravitas to make all sorts of claims. And I don't know if it's accurate or not.
Right.
Yeah. He was on Joe Rogan, and I think Joe Rogan asked him some questions that made me kind of question whether or not he's just a salesman, smooth talking salesman in kind of the Vosh realm where, Vosh talks very authoritatively, but if you know anything about anything he says, you're like, well, that's total bullshit.
Right.
Zahan, I know nothing about what he says, so I can take it and
You
believe
go, oh,
it.
that sounds smart.
Yeah, but as
Yeah,
soon as
exactly. Yeah.
I'm forced to take what he says on faith. I don't know about the Tulsi Gabbard thing. Like, why would they confirm her if that's true? Look, and Putin might be saying that she's a spy for Russia. That would be a great thing for Putin to say, right? To undermine someone's credibility.
Only if you want not if she was an actual spy. That's the thing I thought. I'm like, wait, if she was an actual spy, why would he?
He would never say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got someone on high up on the inside. Yeah, of course he wouldn't say that. That would be stupid.
That being said, I don't know what's up with her. I think she's kind of sus. So
yeah,
I don't trust Rogue at all.
Mr. Ubercross. I love that.
Mr. Ubercross, thanks so much for $20. Says, I'm a bit behind, but Trump's leverage is all economic. Russia has been going broke because of their oil and gas sales. China's been holding them over a barrel as their only trade partner. Russia needs trade. Yeah, I brought that up at some point. But as I said, I don't know which reality is more true. Is it the Russia needs the war to continue for its economic purposes? Does it need the war to end? I've heard both arguments made. I don't know the facts on the ground enough. They both logically make sense. Obviously, whichever, and also the thing to take into consideration, which people have to remember, what the facts on the ground are is only half the equation. The other half of the equation is, what does Putin think the facts are? Because this is why so many people, not no one, obviously, a lot of people thought, but this is why so many people were like, oh, Putin's not going to invade Ukraine, because like logically, it just made no fucking sense to do so. And a lot of people would see it as becoming the massive clusterfuck it was going to be. So we all assumed, oh, well, Putin doesn't seem like a retard. Obviously, he's not going to invade Ukraine. And then it's like, oh, he goes and invades Ukraine. And it's because he has, he's a dictator. He's surrounded, he's like Xi Jinping. He's surrounded himself by a bunch of yes men and people that are feeding him information. That's how he gets information. Putin is not browsing on Twitter, right, to get his information. He has a bunch of people telling him shit. And so I don't know what those people are telling Putin.
Yeah. I don't know that those people have Putin's best interest in mind either. I don't know how many of them are selling their own goals.
Ginger Miss Prime for 5 Aussie bucks says, I'll start believing Europe when their defense spending is at least 3%. If Europe wants to go its way without US, where are they going to get their gas? Well, we'll see. I mean, they're definitely making noise like that's the direction they're going to go in. So this could be all a big wake up call for Europe. Midas Matthews for 21 months. Thanks so much. Says, get you a man/woman that looks at you the way Macron looks at dear Donald.
So true. It's so funny that that's the story, because I had not seen this, and it's the substance of it is very interesting. So that is some leverage. If he can basically pawn this whole nightmare off on Europe, then that's a good move too. So
right. Riker Jeffrey for 2 months. Thanks so much. Says, hey guys, I'm curious on what's your opinion on Trump saying he wants Canada to be a part of America. Do you think he's kidding or telling the truth? I think Trump is telling the truth when he wants Greenland. I think he's telling the truth when he wants the Panama Canal. I think he's trolling when he says he wants Canada, or America wants Canada. I think that's just like a troll. I think it's just a slap in the face to Canada.
Do you?
So, yeah.
It's not a good negotiation tactic, because it's got to drive Canadians crazy. I know as someone who is currently shipping a comic book to Canada that it's a big fucking pain in the ass to send mail to Canada. So I am in favor of Canada becoming the 51st state, so they can just, our postal services can join up and make love.
I mean, wouldn't so much of wouldn't most of that voter base vote for Democrats? I mean, if it became the 51st state. So wouldn't it be like a massive
Canadians?
Yeah, wouldn't it be a massive loss for the Republicans if they became a state?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I didn't really break down the numbers. You could be right.
Also,
though.
I mean, it's not even remotely possible it's going to ever happen anyway. So
no, of course
the whole
not.
thing's just like a lark, I should say.
It is fun to talk about, though.
It is.
That's another thing. I've rethought the Gulf of America thing. Like, the Gulf of America thing is something you do when you've got a lot of tangible progress under your belt. But that could really come back to bite Trump if Trump doesn't make any tangible progress on any front, right? Like, if the economy starts lagging, if he can't resolve the Russia-Ukraine thing, if the Israel-Gaza thing starts falling apart, you've got this giant, completely superficial thing that you did that starts looking like your only accomplishment.
And it starts reminding people of your failures.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
they look at a map. Yeah, that's a good point. I
You're,
never
you're
thought
like,
about that.
you can
Yeah.
only, all you can do is this imaginary thing. Oh,
Right.
that's devastating. Oh, that's devastating.
That's
So
interesting. Yeah.
I started
We'll see.
thinking about, oh man, that move could age like milk.
Right.
Yeah. So look, we'll see how we'll see how it plays out now that we're actually into the substance, right?
Right.
Like this Ukraine deal this is like massive amounts of substance, right?
Ukraine's going to be a big substance.
Tariffs are going to be a big substance.
Tariffs are going to be big. Well, also,
Yeah.
I mean, it's going
Trade
to take.
deals.
It's going to take a while. It might take a year or so to like shake out where all what's going to happen. All these Doge cuts, are they going to be for the good or for the not good? I mean, people are going to be arguing about it, but I don't think like the public is going to really perceive it until like a year or two down the road. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that are predicting that it's going to be a huge mistake for the Republicans because they're claiming that a lot of these states that were red states have a lot of federal employees who are now all getting fired. So they think there's going to be some massive windfall for the Democrats in the next midterm, but I guess we'll find
There
out.
could be. Look, this is even if you're just a restaurant owner and you got a bunch of federal employees that work around your restaurant, now they're all fucking unemployed. Like, how
Right.
do you think that's going to affect your restaurant?
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Tossing a bunch of people out of their jobs. That's what we worry about. We worry about the unemployment is getting high. Corporate America is firing everyone, right? Things are getting bad.
Well, and it's weird too, because like, yeah, if you fire a bunch of people, I mean, isn't that going to drive the cost of wages down? Because all those people are going to be competing in the private market now for jobs.
Yes, it's going to slow
So-
spending.
And it's going to slow government spending. There's a lot of
No, it's going to slow.
downstream economic effects this could have.
It's going to
so-
slow private spending because they
Right.
take those paychecks, those salaries that they get go into the private sector.
Right.
Yeah, that's their salary.
Fall for $20. Thanks so much. So speaking behind the scenes, while Germany and France are taking the lead about sending troops to Ukraine, Turkey has been quietly selling them arms and is also looking at a military defense deal and sending in troops.
Did you go back to the top? Where'd you go?
No.
Gosh. Oh, okay.
Is above Gingimus Prime.
Okay.
I know, because like I didn't
Guess-
see it, and then
Oh,
I
yeah,
refreshed and it was
there it
there,
is.
so I don't know.
I
Maybe
got
it's
it.
all messed up on my screen, but Turkey has been selling Germany and France arms. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Supposedly they're getting a bunch of drones from Iran. Iran's like the big drone manufacturer.
Says in 2024, Turkey quietly curbs military goods exports to Russia. This is in October 2024. And then this year, 2025, Turkey aims for a $6 billion weapons deal with Saudi Arabia. So interesting.
Oh, I'll be right back.
Well, I guess Turkey was sending a bunch of arms to Russia, but it looks like they're claiming that they've stopped it. So I guess we'll find out what happens. Steel Manning for $5 says, listening to Macron brings to mind when Randy Marsh apologized to Jesse Jackson, and Jackson just said, kiss it. Exactly. Brian Bishop for $5 says, got my comics last night. The only question is, which one should I read and which two should be preserved in pristine condition forever? Well, I mean, I think you should preserve, like, obviously the perverted ones, right? You know, you read like the main one, the one with like, that's the main cover, and then you preserve the alternate covers. That's what I would do. Unless you really want to get some usage out of the girl cover, then, you do whatever you want. The Justice 35 for 29 months says, LOL, Trump is a terrible negotiator. Remember, Trump surrendered to the Taliban in the Doha Accords and cut out the Afghan government. Doha was a massive L. Yeah, I haven't looked into that specifically, but I have heard that a lot. That apparently the whole Taliban thing was a total clusterfuck from Trump's negotiating standpoint. So that's why I'm saying I'm curious to see what this deal with Russia is going to look like. Boris for $10 says, MAGA would like the concept of Ukraine repaying us via mine deals and enriching U.S. companies / cheaper goods. Fits Jacksonian style of international relations a la Walter Russell Mead and his analysis of U.S. policy. Yeah, they would like that, but they wouldn't like, I don't think, maybe the voter would, but I don't think the internet MAGA pundits would be on board with essentially Trump saying, we're going to keep sending billions of dollars of weapons or money directly to Ukraine in the promise that in the future there's going to be some minerals at the end of the rainbow. I don't think most people in the MAGA camp would be happy with that. So
I'm back.
that would be the concern.
I got a very special package.
Oh, did you get the package?
Yeah, it came.
Okay,
I love that it comes from Sammy G. I love that she's the one that's doing your mail for you.
She mailed it for me. Yes,
That's the way to
Okay,
go.
glad you got the package. The package has been delivered, everybody. Okay,
So can I open this or?
you can open it. So there's nothing untoward in it. So
Oh,
it's not going to
we'll
be.
see.
It should be like a confetti bomb of like penises that fly out and hit Adam in the face when he opens the package. So
This is the good stuff, right? This is
yes,
this is my official Sitch drawing.
these are your
I get to
Sitch
pick
drawings.
I get to pick the best one, which is great.
You can keep whichever one you want. Okay,
I got 30 to choose from.
right.
I'm gonna give you guys the leftovers, the bad stuff.
Wow,
Oh, look at that
wow.
one.
Wow,
Oh, you really
terrible.
fucked up the smile on that one.
None of them. They're all the same. Okay. I tried to make them all the same. I did try to make them slightly better than the original, really terrible looking ones. So we'll see. But you guys will like them. Matt. Matt
That's hilarious.
for 6 months says, I know y'all don't really care about your old buddies, Disingenuous Dane and Bad Faith Bob. I like those names. They're doing videos claiming your comic is a scam. Yeah, I think it's hilarious because they were like, oh, your comic's a scam. They like literally were like, your comic is a scam like a few weeks before the comic was shipped. So they obviously look like total retards, I guess, for making that claim. Very poor timing.
Yeah. I mean, look, I wish those guys the best. I wish they'd come back on our live stream and actually talk to us. I think I'm like blocked on his channel, so whatever. They came on one time and I think they got super butthurt because the internet decided that we destroyed them. Which
Well,
I
we
mean,
did
we kind of
destroy
did destroy them.
Yes.
Yeah, so. But whatever. They have some weird. I don't know. They just have a weird. They think we're like right wingers or something like that, or Nazis, or I don't know.
They had some weird video that I saw that they were like, they think everyone who's not essentially a socialist YouTuber is some kind of evil Nazi who's trying to, propagandize America into fascism or something. And they think that we're part of that. So
Yes, yeah. They're super, super in the bubble. So.
very strange. Robert Feeds the Machine. Thanks so much for joining the Free Wall Seekers. Thought for $20 says Sitch's TDS is showing again. A-Team reigns supreme. Yeah, there's some people who they can't take even the most mild criticism or critical take of Trump. It just automatically goes into the TDS box, which is unfortunate.
Well,
But
look,
that's the way it is.
I honestly, I do think sometimes you make it sound like Trump is just a complete blithering idiot. Like he can't even tie his own shoes. So, but look, I
didn't say anything like that in this conversation.
It's no. Look, I don't think you believe that. I just think sometimes the things can be perceived that way. So that's why I try to point it out. But look, it's turn to Sam Harris, turn to I don't. Does David Pakman have TDS or is it just a grift? Like it's hard for me to tell. Like I think Kyle Kalinske has TDS. The claim that Sitch has TDS is just insane.
Yeah, I think the people that don't watch
insane.
I think the only people that say that are people that don't watch any left-wing content right now, where it's all just Trump is fascism, Trump is Trump and Elon are doing a fascist takeover from the government. That is what I hear like nonstop. Because I listen to Pac-Man and Kyle Kalinske and I forget the other names, Luke Beasley. I listen to all those people. I listen to a bunch of right-wing people. And so I hear like the drumbeat of like fascism. So I find it kind of amusing when I get accused of that, but okay.
Sitch does listen to too much Scott Adams, and Scott Adams makes Donald Trump seem like such a fucking mega mind, galaxy brain, that just being like a normal human being does seem like a moron by comparison.
Yeah. Well, listen, first of all, it's funny. I only listen to this guy. I'm just like on and off now. I don't really listen to him much anymore. I can't it's too ridiculous for me to even listen to. Like it loses its even like interesting value too. But even Scott, Scott Adams thinks that Donald Trump would 100%, and this is, you had disagreement with this. Scott Adams thinks Donald Trump would 100% just ditch Ukraine and let them get taken over by Russia, which I think you said you don't believe
Really?
that.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's insane. That's totally insane.
Right. So that's his take on it. That's why he's like Trump has such leverage over Ukraine because he'll just leave them to the wolves. So I don't think I think it's possible, but highly unlikely that scenario would ever come to pass.
How would that not immediately be spun into Trump is in Putin's pocket?
It would instantly be spun into Trump is in Putin's pocket.
And you think Trump doesn't know that? Like Trump would literally have to be a moron not to realize that.
Well, I guess the argument would be, would he care? He's not going to care. That'd be the argument.
No way.
I think it would blow up in his face massively, so I think he should care. Like, if that does happen, I'd say, oh, maybe Trump isn't a fucking idiot. If that does happen. So.
Fine on the, he doesn't care if the left frames it as he's in Putin's pocket. Normal people would start to wonder. They would.
Yes.
Yeah, they would totally start to wonder. And it's just, Putin would spin that as Trump is a massive loser and he took complete advantage of him. You think Trump wants that on his conscience? Fuck no.
Well, I don't know. I don't think Putin would spin it that way because Putin would want Trump to do that action, right? So he would. He'd just be quiet about the whole thing, or he would just say, maybe he'd even do the opposite. He'd flatter Trump. He'd say, "Oh, Trump is very America first. He knows it's not in America's interest to waste money in Ukraine or something." So
that is a good point. Yeah, he probably would spin it that way, as he's.
But I think that's highly unlikely.
Taking over Kyiv.
Right. So.
Wow.
The Rooster for $10 says, every time Sitch complains and whines about hypocrisy, I'm reminded of the Norm Macdonald bit about Bill Cosby. The worst thing wasn't the hypocrisy, it was the graping. Somebody is doing the graping. Well, I don't know if maybe you don't understand why hypocrisy matters. I mean, because Wooster either is hyper partisan or he just trolls as hyper partisan. I don't know.
Wooster is, I think, hyper partisan.
Yeah, maybe just hyper partisan. The reason hypocrisy matters is if hypocrisy doesn't matter, then you essentially create an environment where the only solution to your political problems is murdering your political opponents. Because if you say hypocrisy doesn't matter, you're basically saying, oh, well, whoever gets in power, they should just seize power, seize all institutions, and just shut out all political opponents forever, for all time. And the rules are just completely one-sided in my favor, and they're one-sided against you in your favor, right? That's the environment. That's the world that you create when hypocrisy doesn't matter. You basically create, Russia, like Putin and Russia under Putin, where hypocrisy doesn't matter. It's the rules are what I say goes. And so I would say get rid of that cultural idea at your own peril. I mean, you don't care because you're just some shit poster on the internet, but generally for the other people listening as a whole, people know this. Everyone knows this intuitively. They all know that society only functions on the element of universal fairness for everybody. And they all know this, they all intuit this. And that's why people do care about hypocrisy, even if they make excuses, to justify it or rationalize it after the fact.
You're taking this as a personal affront, but I don't know. Wooster's a longtime supporter of ours. I don't know that he's intended
nothing
that way,
I said was taken as a personal affront. I don't even know.
Okay. Well, you just seem a little hostile towards Wooster. So, but anyway, addressing the thing, the Norm Macdonald situation with Bill Cosby makes the example that obviously rape is horrendous. Okay. You got to look at what situation you're pointing out hypocrisy in, right? The hypocrisy came up earlier, but it wasn't a situation like someone was being fucking drugged and raped, right? What was the
I don't even remember what the hypocrisy charge is that he's complaining about. So
people are generally hypocrites. So
right.
Yeah. It takes a lot of brain power to work against being a hypocrite. So I think a lot of times free speech comes up, cancel culture comes up, where hypocrisy is brought up, right? Because people are generally in favor of free speech when their speech is being suppressed, right? But as soon as they're in power, they want to suppress other people's speech. I think you can make an argument that that's, I mean, obviously free speech is important, but I don't want to get drugged and raped while I'm unconscious, right?
Obviously.
I think the curtailing of my speech, I'd be more in favor of that than being fucking assaulted.
Right.
So,
Right.
so I would have to look at the situation. So I don't know what the situation is that you're bringing up, Wooster. So
Sketch for $5 says, remember kids, running Russia's day is a traditional. Remember
ruining.
kids, ruining Russia's day is a traditional great American pastime activity. True. Very true.
Yes. Yeah.
Thanks so much. J-Mac got 5 for the 50 gifted membership.
Wow. Look at that. J-Mac coming in for the win.
Right.
I love it. And if you weren't here earlier, J-Mac did a great review of our comic. I posted on our community tab a link to it. It's on Twitter, but it's a video. You can watch it on Twitter. I don't think you need a Twitter membership to watch the video. Let us know if you do.
Hayden Dill for $5 says, new trend. What is Sitch's real name? He sounds like a Josh guy to me. Doubt Elijah or Abraham. We know it's not an S name due to the Samuel story. That's true. You guys know it's not an S.
How do you know that? How's that?
I said that Sammy's argument for why Sitch is a better name than my real name is because Sitch starts with S.
Oh, okay.
So that's the acknowledgement. It's
Your
not
name is not
Sam
an
as a
S
male.
name.
I don't know what are other male S names. Stanley, Simon, none of those S names. No. CS Pappy
Wendell?
for $5.
Winston? What's
Pappy
his
for $5.
Sitch's real name? Lester?
almost-
Is it Lester?
Oh God, I'm not, only old people are named Lester. That's like an old person name.
I know. That's what I always shoot for, the old people names. The names that have gone out of vogue.
There you go. CS Pappy for $5 says $5 on David. Oh, look at that. It's a Jewy, doesn't start with S. Could he nicked? What is that? I don't know what that means. Could he nicked?
Nix? I don't know.
But isn't long enough,
can't-
so it has to be nicked. Oh, like a nickname. Oh, I think that's what we mean. It's a perfect centrist name. Well, listen, also, you forget the most important part. King David was king of the Jews. Okay. Obviously, who doesn't want to be named after the King Jew, right?
It's just the king.
King, baby. Adam Unfriended for $20. Thanks so much. Says on Sunday stream, I want to say I think Zach's point on super chats and videos is being misrepresented. Media criticism today feels weak, especially when it's just a bunch of guys gossiping like The View, no testosterone at all.
Okay. I don't watch a lot of Zach's content, but I think you follow me on Twitter. I think we've DM'd before. Like, if you want to send me videos, I'd love to catch up on Zach's content. So, yeah, look, I mean, Sitch and I both like media criticism. We like doing media criticism. I don't know that I've really ever considered it from the point of view of like what my testosterone on the media criticism, right?
I have only when it comes to Hello Kitty, which is obviously what created the Sammy's favorite meme that she came up with.
So I'm shipping the packages off. I'm shipping packages. Look, two bad words in there: shipping and packages. Like, what the fuck? How do you say this without all the memes?
Oh yeah, Adam is into shipping packages.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm watching a lot of media because I'm like, literally, I've spent 80 hours doing this. So I'm just watching movies over and over again. I started rewatching the Star Wars sequels. I was thinking about, didn't you do a debate on which is better, the prequels or the sequels? And I mean, I'm watching the sequels and I'm going, these are the worst movies ever fucking made. These things are fucking trash.
Right.
Yes, I'm watching them for the car wreck value of them. So,
did you watch the prequels again?
I did not watch the prequels.
Okay.
I watched the Kenobi first episode, and they do kind of a roundup of the prequels in that Kenobi first episode. So, I watched I watched all three Captain Americas. I watched the Captain America trilogy. I went back today and I was rewatching Andor, which are still Andor. Andor is one of the best Star Wars TV series to come out. There's one thing in it that just bugs the fuck out of me because it's such a missed opportunity for Cassian Andor to be like the ultimate likable character. He drops the whole sister thing immediately, which just bugs the fuck out of me. Because aren't you worried about your sister? Look, your sister sounds like she might be a hoe, a fucking
Like a sex slave or something.
like a sex slave. Yeah, exactly. And you're not concerned about that. And it would be so much better if they would just tie up the loose end. Like he risks getting caught and going back to the place just because he has to know, right? And he finds out the girl at work there wasn't his sister, so we know that loose end is tied up.
Well, they should just say his sister's dead so that he's in a despondent place and maybe more
Sure,
inclined to go on some suicide mission for the rebels or something.
Look, there's a million ways you can tie up that loose end, right? But I love the fact that the bad guys get it correct. That it was a fight. Like he's saying, drop it. You know, our guys are probably guilty. And there's this one guy who's like, no, I'm obsessed with it, so I'm going to keep it alive. So it doesn't undercut the conflict. And it also puts conflict on the antagonist side and on the protagonist side, which is great. So it's just brimming with conflict. But there is a scene where he knows how much risk it is for him to go back to that place, but he has to go back for the sister. And it could be like a Pulp Fiction type moment where like he shouldn't go back for the watch, but it's something he just fucking has to do, right?
Right.
Like that would make that character so much more likable. Just immensely more likable. And they pass it up, so. But anyway.
Well, if you're looking for shows to watch, and I will watch Severance after I finish watching this show. Me and Sam have been watching Dirk Gently, and we like it. It's pretty good. So
Dirk Gently?
Yeah.
Jerk Gently?
Dirk Gently Holistic Detective Agency. Yeah.
Okay.
It's based off of a Douglas Adams book.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, that's
I love
like
Douglas
Hitchhiker's
Adams.
Guide. Yeah. Yeah. So
Dirk Gently.
yes. I'm liking
And
it so far.
it's a TV series?
It's a TV series, yeah.
What's it on?
So if you have Prime, you can do like a free week trial of whatever the fuck it's on through Prime and watch it. And then I guess cancel your whatever it is. It's like Stars or one of those other things. So,
Dirk Gently watch Holistic Detective Agency. Okay. Yeah. Look, I have Prime, obviously, so I think I have pretty much everything.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot
Look,
of fun.
I want to do more media stuff. The thing, like I've been working my ass off on the comics, so now I'm like, I need a project. I need a big project to work on. So everyone's going to be like, shouldn't you be working on book 2? Look, I want to do book 2. We have to grow our audience a bit before we can do book 2, because like it's too much work. The comic was way too much work for how much money we made off the comic. So like we have to really up our game. I think one of the guys did a comic and he made $300,000 and he's like, oh, this is too much work for $300,000. He doesn't want to do a book 2. Yeah. He made $300,000. I think like if we made $300,000, I'd probably be working on book 2. Like we didn't even crack 6 figures. So, which I hate talking about this stuff because it sounds totally elitist. Like most people, that is so much money to, but if you look at it, like I spent 20 grand on postage in the last fucking month. What are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah. So I think this is why a lot of these books don't deliver now that I've engaged in every single aspect of
You realize
making the book. And
how like crazy it is. Yeah.
no, these people, they don't really have any income, right? So they get a bunch of money up front and they spend all that money. And then like later down the road, they realize, oh shit, I have to pay like 20 grand in postage to even mail this thing out. Yeah. And by then they don't have 20 grand. They're like, fuck, I don't have any money. How the fuck am I going to mail this out?
That's why you don't spend the money. Yeah,
you're spending like $500 for 80 packages. You're like, it's expensive. Yeah.
Yes. A thought for $20. Thank you. Says Sitch, we already know your real name. It's Phil McCracken.
Phil McCracken, huh?
Phil McCracken. There you go. Yep.
Who's crack? Who's crack are you filling in?
At least it's not Mike Hunt. So.
Oh yeah.
You know what's funny? I never thought about that. Isn't Oh no, it's Craig McCracken. Craig McCracken is the Powerpuff Girls guy, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He had it switched 3 years ago out of embarrassment. It was originally Vosh, his son, Vosh Hisson. There you go. Monkey Chips for $2 says, "I got my comic. You finally did it. Thanks." Well, thank you for ordering it.
Yeah.
Through the wormhole for $5 says, "Check out France's insane nuclear deterrence policy. It includes the use of nuclear warning shots if a foe goes too far. They also have 4 SSBNs." Interesting. I didn't know that. Very interesting. How many like nuke subs do we have? I assume we have a shit ton. So
I'm not sure. I don't think we do have a shit ton. I think it's one of the
Cameraman
things that Zihan is always saying we need more of.
How many nuclear submarines? Well, according to Google AI, we have 14.
Yeah, that's not shit tons.
I mean,
well,
many do
one
you
probably
need,
weighs a
right?
ton, right?
Yeah. How many do you need? I guess that's the question. I don't know how many nukes can they fire off. So, Cameraman 502 for $2 says, "Hypocrisy is the tribute that vice pays to virtue." Interesting.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I don't know. I have to think about that. Poboxy for €5 says, "I can't resist. When will Trump move on from mining minerals to constructing additional pylons?" Oh, ba-da-ba-ba. Right after he gets the Vespine gas from Russia. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice little StarCraft reference.
You know all the memes. I know.
I know all
I'm
the
like, what is this meme? Is this a Minecraft meme? I'm so close.
You're so not close. Mason Jordan for 16 months says, "I argue the prequels are bad and Mott." I think he meant not. "I argue the prequels are bad and not fun to watch, but the Disney sequels hate you for liking Star Wars. Also, try watching the show From. It's pretty good." I never even heard of the show From, but check it out.
Yeah, that's a big problem. That is a big problem. There's that one moment in the second one. Is the second one the rise of? No, that's
the third one. The second one is
the Return of the Jedi. No, the Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi. Yes.
Okay. When she comes out and she talks to the pilot, I can't remember his name, and says, "I've dealt with flyboy." Yeah, Poe.
Yeah.
"I've dealt with flyboys like you before." I'm like,
what?
No, isn't that the entire audience for Star Wars? Isn't like all of Star Wars about trigger happy flyboys? That's what she says. And I'm like, what? All of these kids play video games. They're all fucking trigger happy flyboys. Like, why the fuck?
That's a good point.
Why would you spit in the face of the entire fandom?
Because Rian is an idiot. That's the answer to the question. Yes.
So stupid. And look, you're supposed to be you're supposed to have the moral high ground. No, we're watching this movie because we are trigger happy flyboys.
Right.
You stupid bitch.
Yep. Steel Manning for $2 says, "You should watch Rogue Heroes." Check it out.
Yeah, look at this.
We're getting all the suggestions. Death by Sloth for $2 says, "Watch Jonathan Strange in Mr. Norrell." So good. I haven't even heard of that.
Everyone has all these media takes, all these great media takes. Yeah.
Okay, check it out. J-Mac or Circuit Fire, thanks so much for the $20. Says, "I have one confirmed sale of the comic for my review, so I'm doing my part." Wow, look at that. Thanks, J-Mac. Let's grow that audience so I can get my issue 2. Otherwise, I'm going to be a couple $100,000 due to commissioning Adam myself.
That's hilarious.
I mean, listen, hey.
We had talked. We have the second book basically mapped out, and it is fucking amazing. Like, I love the book. We even contemplated doing it as like a novel. I don't know how that would be perceived by you guys, obviously, but you can let us know in the comments and give us feedback. Like, if Sitch and I did a novel instead of a comic book, obviously we could do it much faster because we could write it out in novel.
Well, here's and let us know how you think, because we were kind of kicking around the idea of doing a light novel where like
some illustrations, yeah.
Yeah, there'd be some illustrations, but it'd be mostly text. But also because it would be an audiobook, and we figure you guys mostly consume our content by listening to us. So
Yeah.
you know, you could have a story that's listening to us too, that we would narrate. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then we could do that and make less money on it. It wouldn't be like the money wouldn't be the make or break thing for us. So
right. Well, I'm assuming it would be cheaper. Well, I don't know how much cheaper it would be, but assuming it would be cheaper to print the instead of the comics, and also be significantly faster, obviously. So
yes, it would. I'm not sure about that. But yes, a lot of the expense of the comic is obviously the production process of doing the art and all that, and the most time-consuming part as well.
That's the time consuming. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But let us know. We thought of the idea, because then we could do something and have it done by the end of the year.
Right. Lou Silver for $10 says, okay, if it's not sold out, send me the bill plus postage, signed to Mr. Lou Silver Esquire. Love you all. There you go.
Is that for the postage? Because I'll do that. Well, you watch out.
Be careful. Sodos for $2 says, personally, I'm just tired of people like Adam claiming that his glorious leader can never be wrong. It's always 5G chess. It's always, oh, he means well. There's always another excuse to claim Trump can do nothing
Oh
wrong.
my God, that is so bad faith. That is so bad faith. Who said that? Who was that?
Sodo said that.
Really?
Our
Oh my
good
God.
friend and long-term viewer, Soldo, said that.
Well, he's generally bad faith with me. So
Okay.
do you look, Sitch? Do you really think I am like the Trump, my dear leader, Trump?
No,
Do you
I don't think you're
that's
my dear
good
leader, Trump.
faith?
No, I don't think you're my dear leader, Trump, but I do think you give a lot of charity to Trump, which I said we're going to find out whether that charity is deserved or not, depending on what kind of deal gets, brokered here.
I guess the thing is, I am trying to figure out what is actually happening. What the fuck is actually happening? So I don't know how this is the ultimate amount of charity for Trump. Like, where is the charity involved?
Well, I'm assuming he means in terms of like, it was that converse that, we were talking today about the, is Trump doing the mineral thing because he knows that he's going to have to continue to pay for Ukraine? He's trying to sell it to the MAGA people. Or is it, he just wants money back from spending in America?
Well, that's the same thing.
Well, no.
Getting money back for America is how he sells it to the base. So that's basically the same thing.
It's not the same thing. Well, no, there's a difference between saying like, I just want, for us to get what we're owed versus I've foreseen that this is going to continue on for years to come. I don't want to pull out. So I'm going to construct this sort of mineral plan as a way to sell to the base. Right.
You think that's like a good faith interpretation of? I mean, I literally think that is actually what's happening. So
I know that's what you think is happening. Yeah, that's what you think is happening. Right.
But not because I think that Trump is like some fucking genius. Because, like, if he was a genius, he would have seen this coming, like during the election, right? He wouldn't have.
Well, he's still going to say
he wouldn't have completely oversold it during the election.
Well, why not? He just got to win the election, right? And he's going to get a lot of.
Now who's giving
fans
Trump charity here?
Well, no, that's not charity. I'm saying that Trump's going to say basically whatever he's going to say to get elected. He's going to be very hyperbolic. Say, I can solve the Ukraine-Russia situation in a day. I can solve Israel, Hamas situation in a day. I mean, he's going to say that regardless of whether he thinks he actually can or not, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he said he's going to bring prices down. Everyone knows that wasn't fucking true, and he didn't even believe it himself.
But look, he's obviously he's going to oversell during the election, and he's going to dial it back after the election. He's already monitoring expectations, right?
Of course, right.
I think really, it's people who only see Trump as like a walking buffoon, which is the narrative on the left, that he's just a fucking idiot, a complete walking buffoon. And I think anybody who doesn't see Trump or signal boost that narrative that Trump is a complete fucking idiot is perceived of as, giving infinite charity to Trump. Oh, our dear leader, Trump. That's what I see going on. I see people mischaracterizing my perspective because their perspective is that misaligned with reality. I mean, you don't think Trump is a fucking buffoon, right?
No, I don't think he's.
Yeah.
I don't think he's like a retard. But the way it works is essentially you have one side is they're going to come into the situation and their pre-existing lens is Trump is a retard. And so all of his actions then are backwards sort of justified to explain that. And then the other lens is Trump is not a retard or is a genius. And so then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to try to like backwards work out what he's doing from that perspective.
Right? I don't think Trump is a genius. I think Trump has enough intelligence to realize he has zero fucking leverage in this deal, and that's making him uncomfortable. I mean, do you agree? Do you disagree?
I don't know. I don't know how much Trump buys his own bullshit, so to speak. I don't know if Trump entered into the situation thinking he had no leverage or not. I do not know the answer to the question.
That is a great, because I don't necessarily know the answer to that either. There's this, I don't know if you saw the Megyn Kelly interview with 60 Minutes. She tells this epic story about how she did an interview with Trump, and the interview was kind of not really, I mean, it did so, but she had this conversation with Trump after the fact, and Trump was just making it sound like, oh my God, this was a gift to television, and that they hit it out of the park, and they're both immense winners, and like he's selling it. When he has that conversation with Megyn Kelly, it's hard for me to know, does Trump believe this hype that he's putting out there? Obviously, Megyn Kelly doesn't. She's the one telling the story. She's like, I saw the ratings. It wasn't that great. Like, she's more of a realistic perspective. You and I are both more of a realistic perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you and I both could flip on a dime, for entertainment value, for acting, whatever you want to call it, and become like that dial it up to 11 brazen, we're going to sell this, right? Sure, we could do that. We would realize we were diverging from reality when we did it. The question that we're asking, though, is, does Trump realize that he's diverging from reality when he does this? I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. So maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Yeah.
I don't know either. But something that's part of why I'm interested to see how this deal shakes out, because I do think it's going to be a big puzzle piece into answering, at least for me, more definitively that question. Is to like, is Trump like really smart? Is he just kind of doing a very standard trying to get money thing? Is he really stupid? Is he deferential to Russia? Like, I think we're going to see some kind of answer to that question depending on what kind of deal they try to strike with Russia and whether Russia takes it or not.
See, here we have in the chat. In our chat, we have people that legitimately do have TDS. They have TDS. They have full-blown TDS. We have right here, Adam, you always give Trump charity. Come on. From your perspective, where Trump is a buffoon that can't do anything right. He's so fucking dumb, he can't even tie his own shoes. Me just saying Trump is not that dumb, he can tie his shoes. Be real. You perceive that as me giving Trump infinite charity. Come on, Adam, you know he can't tie his shoes. Oh my God, you're such a Trump simp. Look, I respect you guys, okay? I'm welcome. I know DDG is having a meltdown right now, so a lot of you are in our chat. We welcome you, okay? Come on over. Come on over. Bring your TDS. Have fun with us, okay?
Well, there's a second Soldo's chat, so maybe I should read that to get
Oh,
that
no.
later.
Oh, no. Look, we welcome it. Come on, Soladoge. Give me all you got.
This is before you started your answer too, by the way. So shortly after the first one. Soldier for Joe says, Adam is just a very clear case of populism brain rot. Populism good, so Trump good. Don't believe me. What action of Trump has Adam actually taken a strong stance against without claiming there's a secret plan or that he means well?
I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know the specifics of what you're asking me there. So,
well, first of all,
I mean,
I'm
taking
populism. That's number one, and then number two, is there something that Trump did that you're like, fuck that was stupid?
Well, first of all,
wrong, or you disagree with?
Look, Soladoge is a rabid libertarian, right?
Yes.
Borderline anarcho-capitalist. Okay, so strange since he works for the government. I think he's in the military, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pulling a paycheck, but we'll see how long that lasts when Doge gets to his department.
Terrible.
Look, I like Doge, so I'm only playing here, but I do look. I don't think populism is a bad thing. I believe in democracy, and so like I think populism basically is democracy. So I've said
I don't
before,
agree with that, but continue.
right? Yeah, look, Sitch and I differ on our beliefs in populism
definitions.
Yeah, I guess definitionally.
Sitch's law here, but anyway, continue.
But anyway, look, I've said before, I think obviously Trump during January 6th was self-serving, doing his own interests, putting his own interests above the good of the country. Like, obviously I believe that. Sitch believes that. So I just think politically it's bad to continue to focus on it because the country basically adjudicated that during the election. And Trump is going to do new things that are probably going to be in some gray area. And the people who are criticizing him need to maintain their political capital to focus on those things. So I don't think it's a good idea to continue to dwell on January 6th. Give me something, Sitch, that Trump has done recently that's like terrible. Didn't I just talk about the Gulf of America thing and how that was probably going to end up being a bad move?
Yeah,
didn't I just say that?
You were against getting rid of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
I'm against. There you go. I think getting rid of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was bad,
Right.
even though Doge probably totally in favor of that, right?
I don't know, because I would think normally I think he would be, but maybe because Trump and Elon are doing it, maybe he won't.
So does Doge have TDS in? Is that the situation? Look, if he would be in favor of that, if anyone else but Trump did it, and he doesn't like it because Trump did it, he has TDS. Let's be honest here, right?
I think Doge is a hero and a saint.
He's obviously S-class, that's for sure. He's coming at me all the time.
There you go.
Well, look, it's weird because look, I didn't vote for Trump. And my reasoning for not voting for Trump was I thought, Trump might do stupid shit. If he loses the election, he's going to drag America through the fucking mud.
Right.
He's telling everyone he won, even though he didn't win. So I mean,
he's still saying the vote was rigged this election.
And he won. Yeah, exactly.
He won.
So, and look, I don't know how this is going to go out with weaponizing the justice system. Everybody's saying we want to put an end to weaponizing the justice system. Well, not everybody, because there are people who are like, aren't we going to arrest? Look, Cash was confirmed. When are we going to arrest Adam Schiff, right? I mean, if Adam Schiff has done something wrong, I mean, they probably should arrest him, but.
Yeah, we're going to get to see how that, I can't wait. We're going to see.
Look, and I'm not going to.
our predictions, so we're going to see how that gets to shake out.
I'm not going to be on Trump's side when it comes to doing nefarious shit like that. Investigating his political rivals on no evidence, I'm not in favor of that. So, I'm telling you, it's exactly the way that I laid it out. Like, if you have TDS, you think anybody who doesn't constantly talk about how Trump is the worst person on planet Earth, that they're carrying water for Trump. That's your perspective is the one that's clouded here. Mine is crystal clear, okay? We'll see. Look, we'll see if I'm right about this, even on the Ukraine thing.
Right. Yeah, I'm very curious to see how the Ukraine and Cash situation all plays out. Because I think it's gonna take a little bit longer for us to see how the Doge thing plays out.
I do like the memes, but I do like the memes. I hope none of them are true. Like all these memes of Cash Patel, like singing Every Breath You Take to Adam Schiff. Like, have you seen those?
I have seen those, yeah.
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 Sitch does not approve. Sitch has a different view.
They're funny, but it's like it's the thing what's the thing I always said. It's always a funny LARP until it's not.
True. Yes. True.
Solid for $2 says, speaking of gay wad, your boy Zach has also called people that for being mad at Disney because he's an out of touch Gen Xer, doesn't know. He doesn't get how big the Disney Renaissance was. By gay, he means weaker pussy. And French Solid says he also hasn't been on a live stream since he got in trouble for saying Heather Antos was hired by Marvel to be their cum dumpster. He didn't technically call her a whore, but still bad luck. Plus, Anita and Antos is a far left nut job. Well, there you go. I guess Cella's all up on the your boy Zach drama. I don't watch your boy Zach, so I have no take in any of this stuff one way or the other.
Well, he
But there you go.
did fuck up massively by saying no to Joe Rogan and going into that hit piece.
The Daily Show?
Some Daily Show hit piece he ended up on, which was, I mean, catastrophic era.
I know that was a mistake. I didn't know he said no to Joe Rogan.
He did say no to Joe Rogan,
Wow.
yeah.
Why?
Look, what is Warren Buffett always saying? It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 15 minutes to destroy it. So I think that was like he had spent his 20 years and then he destroyed it in 15 minutes. So
Oh, it's interesting. I don't remember if it was from the CoffeeZilla video or Patrick Boyle, the new video. Because, CoffeeZilla, speaking of reputation, CoffeeZilla, got this crazy interview with a guy that was involved in the Libra coin.
yeah, I listened to all of it. That was insane. Yeah.
And then it was super crazy because it turned out that guy was also involved in some capacity to
Melania
the
coin.
Melania coin.
Yeah.
Right. And he was talking about how like all the Trump people were at some sort of like dinner or something, and they were like buying into the coin before it went public and all this stuff. That's how all these crypto scam rug pulls essentially work. And then there was, I don't know if it was him or if it was Patrick Boyle basically brought up something, which this is crazy if it's true. They're saying that like possibly that guy, he could have been violating like foreign corruption laws with the Libra coin. And isn't it a nice coincidence that just so happens that Trump got rid of the foreign corruption, put a pause on the foreign corruption bribing law. So
you see, I don't support that. I don't support that at all. That's another thing that
you will. Yeah.
That's another thing that I hate about the Trump fucking the crypto shit.
The crypto
What the
shit's
fuck?
pretty
What the
obnoxious, yeah.
fuck? Yeah.
And also, we didn't get to talk about it. We were going to do it, and then I think I got sidetracked to some other story. But the whole Eric Adams situation is pretty crazy too. So maybe we'll talk about that at some point.
Eric Adams is what's
the
that?
mayor of New York City that
basically
pardoned. Well, they didn't pardon, but they basically got rid of the lawsuit as long as he plays ball with Trump politically for corruption charges, which is pretty crazy. But
I mean, look, that's a place that you can say there's a ray of hope that they're still holding it over his head, but you're probably right. They'll probably just put it to bed after he plays ball. So
yeah, which
I
think is
just look
crazy, but
I think you have to go off what the facts are at any given time. So, and everyone else has an advantage over me in that department because everyone is super eager to jump to conclusions, right? And sometimes those conclusions turn out to be true.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to do that. I don't like to jump to the conclusions.
Right. Vance is so weird on Ukraine. I don't know what his problem is.
Who is?
JD Vance. He's like such an attack dog against Ukraine. It's very strange. I don't know if it's just like some good cop, bad cop thing, or he just has some kind of like weird personal thing against Ukraine.
They bought into the narrative that it's super corrupt, which I mean, it's hard to say if the corruption, like where they are going directionally on corruption now that the war came in and kind of spoiled the institution building that they had going on.
No, but I mean, it's weird if it's like, okay, if your take is correct, that Trump perceives this as a continuing conflict that he's going to have to sell to his base, then JD Vance is sabotaging him by going out and attacking Ukraine nonstop on X, because he's like making it so that no one's going to want it. Like his base is not going to want to support Ukraine.
That's a good
Trump
point.
should
That's
Trump
a good
should rein him
counterpoint.
like if that's the case, I'm just saying Trump should rein him the fuck in and be like, you need to stop fucking attacking Ukraine because we're gonna have to maybe support these fuckers for another couple of years. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Okay. Oh, wait, there's more super chats. Sam C for $5 says, "Rip Joy Reid's career. Maybe we'll be seeing Rachel Maddow doing the same thing. Regardless, MSNBC might be getting loser socialists to replace them." So, I did see there was this cringe video of Joy Reid crying.
I saw it
that
too.
was making the rounds because she lost her job, and she's being replaced by. I kind of made fun of this on Sunday. She's being replaced by Michael
Simone
Steele.
Sanders. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's the real one. Simone Sanders, who is awful. Michael Steele, who's sometimes awful, sometimes not awful, and some other lady who I'm not familiar with. And it was weird because Rachel Maddow, she had a segment where she was complaining about it essentially, and I couldn't believe it. I shouldn't be surprised, but I was. Rachel Maddow is complaining about Joy Reid losing her job, and she's like, "Oh my God, the only two non-white women are losing their anchor jobs at MSNBC." I was like, holy shit. Because first of all, it's hilarious because they're literally replacing Joy Reid with 2 black people. Okay. 2 black people. So you're trading 1 black person for 2 black people. But also like just the fact that she would throw her own network under the bus. Like, oh my God, if I was the head of MSNBC, I would be like,
Pissed,
they
yeah.
almost fired her already. They definitely negotiated her down. I'd be like, bring her in for a complete ass whooping on that one. Tongue lash
That's
on
the
that one.
only
That's
move
crazy.
they have. That's the only move they
crazy.
have. They
Yes, I know.
constantly do it. Look, and that's why Joy Reid is so fucking useless, because that's her only view on the world. Everything is racist.
Yeah, there were good compilations of her basically making fun of like, oh, white boy tears, and then it cuts to her crying. So, fuck her.
Guess the white boys are laughing last.
Yep. Solid for $5 says, "Adam, are you going to make me pull up the clips from streams last week of you saying Trump is playing 5D chess?" Did you say that last week, that Trump is playing 5D?
Pull them up. I don't remember saying that.
Pull them up. Go get them, Soldier.
5D chess?
I don't remember you saying that either. Low Visionary for 20 months says, "What do you think about beneficial belief as an alternative to useful fiction or metaphorical truth? No inherent truth claim baked in, positive outcome. Beneficial belief."
Yeah, I do like that. That is a
term.
good swap. Yeah.
That's a good term. Yeah. It has a nice, because obviously useful fiction has a somewhat negative connotation to it.
Beneficial
and
belief.
no one knows what metaphorical truth means. So
It's got alliteration too.
And it's got alliteration in
and
it,
it
yeah.
says what it is. I'm such a fan of something that says what it is. So yeah, I do
good
like
on you.
beneficial belief.
Beneficial belief. Try to remember that for next time.
Beneficial belief. We're gonna have to steal that.
Steel Manning for $10 says, "Eric Adams' corruption is being brought by a DA who's running against him this election. The corruption amounts to that he got a flight upgrade and a free hotel room in a Turkey trip." So my understanding is that the corruption is far greater than those 2 things, number one. Number 2, they even said in the letter that if the concern was the DA who was running against him, that supposedly he'd only done a very minor amount of work in the case and that they could just pull him off the case. So it seems ridiculous to me that you'd have essentially a bunch of like very right-wing prosecutors who are trying to go after Eric Adams, who all quit in disgust, are like doing it for some sort of, other reason other than the fact that they actually are disgusted with going after with not going after it. I think that I think government corruption is one of the worst crimes in our society and should get the super maximum penalty. Is government corruption, is when a government official is doing corrupt things. I think you really need to throw the book at these people. And I think that essentially hand waving away bribery charges just because you want a political outcome, to me, seems pretty crazy. So
This is not obviously on the same level as what you're talking about, but is like these sanctuary cities ignoring the law and giving a bunch of perks to illegal immigrants, even if their citizenry is against it. Is that in the realm of government corruption?
Well,
they are breaking the law.
Right. Well, actually, I don't. Well, first of all, sanctuary city. All sanctuary city means is that if someone gets arrested, they don't have to report their immigration status to the federal government. Which, number one, I don't know if that is breaking the law. If it was breaking the law, they wouldn't be able to do it. So number one. Number two, as I said, I don't like sanctuary cities. I think it should be illegal. I'm not sure what the constitutionality of that is, but I think that they should definitely try to pass a federal law to make that illegal to do such a thing. I don't have a problem with Trump basically saying that I'm not going to give funds, some kind of non-emergency funds. Like emergency funds people should get, but non-emergency funds unless they get rid of those sanctuary cities. I think that's totally fine to kind of strong arm them into doing that. I'm on board with that. It's not corruption, because if you have a mayor or you have a city council who people elect, and those people do the thing that the base wants them to do, even if I disagree with it, that's not corruption. It's just a political outcome I don't agree with. Corruption is when when a elected official, takes a bribe or does something with their power they're not supposed to do for their own personal gain, not because they were voted to do that action.
Okay. Well, obviously, definitionally, I don't think you can call it corruption either. I guess I'm talking about the whether it's morally correct or incorrect. I think that's what's complicated about the Eric Adams thing, because it's really the pragmatism against the principle. If they get rid of Eric Adams, they're probably going to put someone else in place that is just not going to play ball on any of the immigration stuff. So they see Eric Adams as their only play to make headway pragmatically in New York City on the immigration stuff. Does that
I think that if you open
well?
Well, I think you're right in terms of that's the thought process.
Yeah.
I think two things. Number one, A, obviously, I think that's morally wrong. And then B,
it is morally wrong. I don't
right.
I agree with you.
Right. Okay. But I think it's really setting up a terrible precedent, because if you're essentially saying, okay, the federal government, and if it wasn't Trump doing this, every right winger would be screaming, because you're basically setting up the precedent where you're going to say the federal government now has an open door to lean on mayors and governors of cities and states in order to get them to do what they want politically. And if not, they're going to push charges against them.
Only the corrupt ones, though.
You think okay, I'm going to put my head cap on and imagine that, I'm like a huge Trump stan, and this is the Biden administration pushing on some sort of Republican governor who's been charged with corruption. They're going to say that the charges are bullshit, or that they're going to be able to they're going to push the federal government to look into every governor, every mayor of every city, of every state, and they're going to find something there that they can lean on them for corruption until they play political ball, right?
If they are obviously not corrupt and they're trumping up charges just to get them to play ball on something, that's obviously, that I would even say that's worse than corruption, right? Framing
that's
an
corruption
innocent
from
man.
the federal government.
Yeah. But
Right.
this situation, like, if let's just say they do convict Eric Adams of whatever corruption he's guilty of, right? And they, as part of the punishment, they say, look, you've got to do some kind of community service, right? And that community service is helping the Trump administration with the immigration problem, right? Like, then it's all up and up, right?
What? Wait, what?
Well, look, if they convict him of corruption,
Yes.
and they give him a slap on the wrist and say, you've got to do community service, right? And the community service is helping them with immigration.
No,
Then
corrupt.
that's
As I said this has always been my position. Okay. I always think elected officials that engage in corruption should get extra penalties, should get maximum penalties.
Right.
This is
the
like
death penalty.
They should get the death penalty. There should be such a high price to pay for corruption of elected officials is one of the most pernicious, dangerous, toxic things for our society. And it disgusts me on a visceral level. And those people should be held accountable for that. And I don't think for any reason should any official who is doing something like taking a bribe, taking a pill, whatever, get a slap on the wrist because maybe they'll help, be coerced into doing something political for someone down the road, even if it's for, like, quote, the supposed greater good.
I mean, this happens in law enforcement all the time. All the fucking time. They let
No,
people
it
get away
doesn't.
with Yeah, it does. They let people get away with shit because they roll over on somebody else. I mean, that's
But wait, there's
a
difference between wait a
standard
minute. That's completely different.
negotiation tactic.
There's a completely different thing if you're like, I'm gonna bust a drug dealer and I'm gonna give them a lesser charge if they roll over on the upper level person.
They're
right?
still a drug dealer.
Who's-
They're still a
Yeah, but well, hold on. Wait. Number one, they're not a government official. So there's not a question of government official using their office for corruption. Okay. So
Right.
there's nothing to do with that. Number two, they're actually involved with the thing. Like it's still, they're pleading for something specifically related to the crime. It's someone committed a crime and they're pleading to get a lesser charge to put someone who's actually the more important person who's causing the crime up the chain of command in jail for a longer time. I don't have a problem with that. This has nothing to do with that. This is like, if there's a situation where like Eric Adams is like, oh, I'll take some kind of slap on the wrist because actually there's some kind of like up the chain level of, cabal of mayors or governors or whomever that are involved in some payout scheme. And I'm just a pawn here. I would have a completely different take on this. I'd say, okay, that's totally fair. Right. But that's not what's happening. This is completely unrelated to the charge.
I think, and look, maybe this can be the last thing. I think I don't see how you can make the jump from there looking the other way on these corruption charges, so he'll play ball on the immigration front, to that's going to embolden people to actually put together fake charges and go after an innocent man. Like that seems like a giant jump to me, but
it's not that they're going to go after an innocent man. It's that I'm sure you could probably dig up some level of corruption. I mean, people always complain about
that
this.
person
You could
would
dig up
be-
some level of corruption charges on all mayors and all governors. They've done something that maybe in a certain light you can say is wrong. Okay.
Well, that is
I mean, we
innocent.
just had like
That is innocent. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Okay,
That
well,
is
wait.
innocent.
That's what I mean, that was the accusation that people were saying that the Democrats were doing to Trump. So to me, it doesn't seem like an unlikely scenario to occur. If we as a society are going to all say, yeah, it's totally fine for the federal government to pressure local government officials into doing political things at the coercion of criminal charges, opening the door to that just seems like third world corrupt dictatorship. So I don't know. Well, I guess we can just disagree on that.
Well, I think pragmatism always rules the day. I do think pragmatism always rules the day.
Right.
And then let's just move on.
Solidose for 2 hours says, I'll never hate Adam. That's sacrilege and heretical.
Well, thank
There
you.
go.
Thank
Solidose
you.
loves you.
Yes.
Okay. Steelman for 2 hours says, federal prosecution stops after this election. Yeah, what's even worse is that they're kind of holding it over his head like, are you going to do what we want? Are you going to win the election? So I don't know.
Does it? If he doesn't win the election, though, will they prosecute him?
I don't know. They might. They definitely can. So
yeah.
That's another thing too that's kind of crazy about it. It's not even just a dismissal. It's not even just a blanket dismissal. It's like a maybe dismissal. So Theoden King of Brohan for $5 says, to think that the mighty Skull Crusher, Chief Warlord of 18, would be anything but ruthless is so outrageous that I just bought the comic.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes.
There you go.
Of course. Very ruthless.
Okay. Let me just refresh here. Make sure I'm not missing
You will
anything.
see that.
Okay.
The comic will prove my ruthlessness. You're going to love it.
Okay. Anyways.
This was great.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for incredibly generous donations. Hope you all get your comic soon. If you didn't order it, make sure you do, because I think we still have a few copies left. So order quickly. And we'll see you all on Thursday. We're not really streaming on Wednesdays anymore. So Thursday, remember.
You shouldn't have said anything. I was waiting to see how long before people even noticed.
Some people messaged me, and I realized.
Did they really? Holy
yes,
shit!
They're like,
Nobody
where's the
messaged.
Wednesday stream?
Nobody messaged me. Yeah.
Arithmus was on Twitter like, where's the Wednesday stream? And I was like, oh shit, I guess we never said anything. So, but anyway, so we'll see you guys on Thursday.
Take care, everyone. Now this is a part where there's
you use my real name and you say, what is up, John?
Boaz.